I used to work for them in London. You know, we get along great. They could do something amazing, and it goes nowhere. You know, it's still sitting there. We've been
Frustrating.
It is. And
Frustrating.
meanwhile, the building is deteriorating because they're not doing anything. They're not even,
Right.
you know, polishing the doorknob or anything. So who knows?
So I'm going to start the meeting. Susan, I think I asked you if you would take minutes and do resolutions.
I think I said not until December. Or November. No, I definitely said that because I just got back from a 3.5-week trip and I've got a deadline. It's
Oh, yeah, you did say that.
yeah.
Clary, can you help us out? No, I can't hear you, Clary, but I can see your head going like this.
I'm really sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. You did say that. I'm sorry.
I was
Clary?
muted. I was muted. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
It's just not a good time for me. I'm really sorry.
Ay, 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 ay.
Sorry.
Who we got Madge twice. I don't want to ask Mark again. Jay, how about you?
I think he's still connecting to the audio.
Yeah.
There it is.
While we wait for Jay to answer that pressing question, Paige, were you talking about West Presbyterian Church?
No.
No, but
Oh,
that's
okay.
another one that's, I don't know if, wait a minute, do I still have it? I should. They're holding a gala on, is it November 15th? Fundraiser. Hang on a second. I will find the invitation. Mim Warden is the one who's orchestrating all of this. And she asked me to, here it is. Hold it up.
Found in the funds?
Have you guys have seen this?
Yeah.
No.
No, definitely not.
It's a
Maybe just send it to
postcard,
everybody.
and on the back side, oops, it's the note. And I think it's coming everybody's way.
Okay,
But
great.
it is Tuesday, November 15th, 5:30 to 8:30, in support of our campaign to save West Park, invitation to follow. And it's Mim Warden is the chair now, I think, in perpetuity. She got the lucky straw. And
It's transportation meeting night. That's not good.
it's what night?
Transportation.
Well, this one is 5:30 to 8:30, so you don't have to go to the whole thing. And I don't know. I called Mim and I said, is this in person or Zoom? So I don't know, because it's odd that it just says more info and tickets at centralparkwest.org gala. Glitz and Grit Gala. It's what it's called. I don't know. I know Landmarks has not weighed in on
Right,
anything.
they have not.
And I was told it would be November, December before they would come back.
So
I
as soon
don't
as you hear something, can you tell us?
Oh, yeah.
On the
No,
off chance
I,
some of us won't hear.
yeah.
And Jay, could you take notes and do resolutions? I need help. I can't do it because Kay's not gonna be here. Josh is not gonna be here. Peter's not gonna be here.
I can take the notes if Jay will do the resolutions.
Jay, you're muted.
Yeah, I'll do the resolutions.
Okay, great. Thank you, Madge. Thanks, Jay. I'm gonna start the meeting. Do we have any applicants here yet, Max?
I see we have 14 people. Not sure who's corresponding with which applications, but
Actually, Jesse did something incredibly helpful. Well, not just one thing incredibly helpful, but a new thing incredibly helpful, which is she, on our drive, she set out who are the presenters for each of the applications.
Yeah.
So Michelle, are you calling 433 Amsterdam first?
Yeah, I'm gonna, whatever's on however it reads on our agenda.
looks
That
like
would be Jacqueline Peu d'Avillon and Lance Rodriguez Hatcher and Elizabeth Morales. I'm not a co-host, so I can't promote them, but those are the
I
ones
can
you
do
want.
that. Yep, I just promoted Jacqueline. Elizabeth, I have you next. And I don't see Lance Rodriguez is the third one, correct? Here we go.
I just
Mark, I'll also
want
make
to
you-
say before we start, hello, everybody. My name is Michelle Parker. I'm co-chair of the Preservation Committee here. Thank you for joining us this October 13th, 2022. My esteemed co-chair can't be here tonight. You know, he's a reverend, so sometimes he has heavenly duties that are a little more important than our earthly duties, even though I don't want to take away from how important. What we do is sometimes his duties are celestial and ours are galactic. So let's have everybody on the committee introduce themselves. Paige Cowley, just a little wave. Clary Newvelt,
Hello.
Madge Rosenberg. She's all over the place. Now we see your
Everyone.
floor, Madge.
here.
We see two of you. Yes, hi, Madge. Mark Diller.
We have Madge in stereo and Mark in mono.
Yeah. Sue Schwartz,
Howdy.
Jay Adolph, and we have our Veep, Doug Kleinman here. Thank you, everybody. Just a quick briefing at the Landmarks Preservation Committee meeting on Tuesday. The application for 780 West End Avenue was, they made no decision on that. So that means the applicant, that's the one where they wanted the air conditioning units to go in. They've got to go back to staff and work out some details. And the application for 231, 233 West 74th Street, which was the building that they wanted to take the front down, repair it. They didn't have a quorum when after that application was heard and questions were asked. So it will be at next month's meeting or the next meeting, but it's a meeting, not a hearing. So
Michelle, did you get a sense of how those commissioners who were there were reacting on that one?
You know, the truth is I wasn't there the whole meeting.
Oh.
And Kay was there, but he's not here to answer your question. So sorry. But we will start the meeting tonight. Oh, I forgot to introduce our district manager, Max Vandervliet. There he is, sitting in the office, getting us ready for hybrid meetings. And let's get started for application 433 Amsterdam Avenue. It is for a certificate of appropriateness for signage at the storefront cornice with bottom lit illumination, illuminated signage behind storefront glass, and vinyl sign on glass door. All right, Jacqueline, are you going first?
Yes, it will just be me really, and the others are available to answer questions that I might not be
Great.
prepared for.
So what will
All right.
happen is, I'm sorry, the applicant will make the application, then the committee members can ask questions, then the committee will discuss and we'll come to, committee members will ask questions and the public will ask questions, then committee members will discuss and we'll present a resolution. Okay.
Got it. May I share my screen?
Can I have,
You should have capabilities.
Okay.
This used to be Haru, if you all recall.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Should I feel like I'm rusty. Should I minimize the Zoom? I don't want you to like see yourself twice on Zoom because it's on my screen.
Oh.
You don't have to worry about that. But
Yeah.
if you
Don't worry
would,
about that.
if you go into view and do a full screen on the
Icon.
PDF, that would be helpful.
Okay. Okay, hold on. Full screen. How's that?
Great.
Better.
Okay, great. So, hello, committee members. Thank you for hearing this application for signage tonight. My name is Jackie Pudu-Vallon. I'm the preservation consultant on the project. This is 433 Amsterdam Avenue, a proposal to replace exterior illuminated signage at a restaurant and to install 2 internally illuminated signs at the interior behind the storefront glass. I'd like to note the vinyl signage was determined to be approvable at staff level, so that's already been done. So that's not something you'll be looking at tonight. You'll just
All
be
right, so
looking
that's
at.
the last thing, and vinyl sign
Correct.
on glass door. Okay,
Right,
so not
that's
part of-
already,
Thank you.
already been approved by landmarks and already been installed.
Got it.
So here's just the existing condition. 433 Amsterdam is a Romanesque revival style apartment building in the Upper West Side Central Park West Historic District. It was built in 1890 to 1891 and designed by George A. Bagg. It stands on the east side of Amsterdam between 81st. Sorry?
No, sorry, my bad. I'm
Okay.
muting.
All right. Where was I? It stands between 81st and 80th Streets. Please note that the existing entablature and cornice that spans the storefront openings is made of pressed metal and was installed as a component of facade restoration work that was done about 20 years ago. So this, can you see my cursor? So this is what I'm talking about. While it replicates what was there originally, it's not actually original. Can everyone see my little hand going back and forth?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Here's a couple of photos to show you how the storefront fits into the streetscape for this side of the block, highlighted with the red dots. And here are a couple of historic photos of the building, the 1940s tax photo on the left and the 1988 designation photo on the right. Interestingly, in the 1940s tax photo, it looks like there was a sign installed covering the cornice in almost the same location as we're proposing today. And I'm talking about this location right here. Here are photos of the exterior sign that was approved by LPC in 2006. That's the Haru sign that you mentioned earlier. It's just a close-up of it and a shot of what it looked like when it was illuminated in the evening. And here are photos of the restaurant as it appears today. The old Haru sign has been covered in black plastic wrap until the new restaurant is able to get its own signage put up. So here's that sign covered now, and here you see it in context. This is a photo montage showing you the proposed signage. The sign over the door, RA Sushi Bar Restaurant, will be made of standing aluminum plate letters with acrylic faces attached to a metal raceway. The signs in the windows will have acrylic faces internally lit by LEDs. Here's an elevation drawing for the proposed sign above the door. The overall length is 13 feet. The overall height is 13 inches, and it will sit 4 inches off the face of the building. Here are section drawings of that sign, which explain how the illumination works. The letters are to be attached to a metal channel that has LED lights in it. These lights will shine up and illuminate the letters from behind. This colored section drawing over here in the center shows how the sign will be illuminated from behind, from below and behind. And here on the right is a rendering showing what the sign would look like in the evening. And now moving on to the two proposed signs behind the glass. Here's an elevation drawing and a section drawing. The signs will be 2 feet around with a routed aluminum face lit internally by LED lights. And here's a photo montage showing what these signs would look like in the evening. And now, just to give you some context, here are some streetscape photos of neighboring blocks. There are photos of the buildings across the street and 1 block north. And here on the left is the east side of Amsterdam between 80th and 79th. And on the left is the west side of Amsterdam between 80th and 79th. And also for context, here are some, well, I should say there is a lot of internally illuminated signage in this historic district, as I'm sure you're all aware. But for our purposes here, I'll just be showing you some examples of internally illuminated signage that was actually approved by the Landmarks Commission. So these are left to right, 269 Columbus Avenue, 301 Columbus, 313 Columbus, and 329 Columbus Avenue. And turning to a nearby historic district, the West End Collegiate, there's a couple of examples of recent LPC approvals as well at 220 West 72nd Street and at 2195 Broadway.
All of these are illuminated?
Yes.
Oh,
You want me to go through how?
Internally illuminated, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So to conclude, the proposed exterior signage at 433 Amsterdam is modestly scaled in relationship to the size of the entablature and the width of the restaurant space. It's in keeping with other LPC approvals for illuminated signage within this district. It recalls the location of a historic sign that was installed in almost the same location on this facade. And the proposed lit signs behind the storefront glass will likewise be modestly scaled to the span of the restaurant space and to the building, and will therefore not detract from the architecture of the building. And their warm glow will not be out of place in the busy commercial thoroughfare that is Amsterdam Avenue in the evenings. And that's really it. I look forward to your comments and questions.
Anybody have a question on the committee?
I do.
Okay,
I do.
Clary?
Okay, I actually raised my hand. I thought we might be a little more formal. So these illuminated signs, what is the intent as to whether they would all of them be illuminated 24 hours a day, whether the restaurant's open or closed, or would it vary between the one on the front, on the outside, and the two on the inside?
They would only be turned on. They'd only be illuminated when it's actually dark outside and when the restaurant is open.
So when the restaurant is closed, the two round ones would be turned off, and the one above the door.
Yes.
What else? Mhm. Okay, thanks.
I think I saw Mark next. I'm not sure.
Okay, could you go to page 12, please?
Sure.
Because I think that shows what you're calling the blade sign, what that'll look like. Okay. So the blade sign is interior to the, is it up? It's a little hard to tell. Is that up on the clear story, or is that on the accordion doors?
Below, and they're not accordion doors. They're not true divided lights. Can I go to a photo, better photo? So I don't think there's an operable door here within this bay,
Oh,
but
I
these
see.
are
So it's
just fixed window panes.
But they're interior,
Yes.
and you still need okay. But so usually when Landmark sends us blade signs, it's because they're perpendicular to the facade. These look like they're parallel to the facade.
Yes, but they're not thinking. I mean, they're being hung from a soffit that's right behind the glass that hangs down from the ceiling, and the sign company and the restaurants they're not thinking of them as blade signs. They are round, but they're just thinking of them as signs behind the glass.
Okay, all right, I'm sold. Thank you.
Thanks.
Paige, thank you.
Hi, two questions.
Mhm.
I can't recall the details of this block, but I do live on the west side nearby on 88th Street. Can you elucidate where it looks like where the restaurant is, it's a twisted wire, and another one up above and another one just below the window. Are those conduits?
No, there'll be no exterior conduit. I know what you're talking about. You're talking about right here. I think this
Well,
is
all
just
along-
a dark shadow.
No,
Oh,
this
you're
is,
talking about this. Okay, let's
Yeah.
get to a photo of the cornice. It's better.
because that's new. I don't recall seeing that before.
It's not new. It's been there a while. It's just unfortunately, the resolution on my photo montage
okay.
is not,
There it is.
the
Okay,
resolution on this
good.
photo montage is not very good. So here you can see that's just, a molding. It's part of the, below the
No problem.
entablature, part of the cornice.
And my second question is equally easy. This is a block that doesn't have any illuminated signs on Amsterdam. Amsterdam is the poor sister to the more popular Columbus Avenue.
Well, actually, wait, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I just want to point
No.
out there are a lot of internally illuminated signs that I found on Amsterdam, and I actually took them out of the presentation because Landmarks told me it wasn't advantageous to include pictures of signage that was not approved by them. But I did find a lot of a lot of storefronts on Amsterdam with
No, I agree
internally
that,
illuminated signs.
I agree that they're illuminated from the interior, but this will be the
Mhm.
first one on this block or the opposite side where we will have an illuminated sign. I'm not against them. It's
Mhm.
just it's commercializing a street that has a very nice rhythm, frankly, without them. That's all. It's my comment.
Okay.
You've heard it. Nothing to say. Thank you.
Okay,
I'm sorry, did you call on me?
yes, I
Michelle?
did.
No, I apologize. I was having some computer issue, so I missed the first minute or two of the presentation. The linear sign, is that going to be illuminated or?
Yes, so it's going to be illuminated from behind, and I'll get to a section drawing that shows you how that works. So in other words, well, let me show it to you here first. So here's the larger, sorry, I hit the wrong button. So here's the larger section, right down below here. Can you see my little hand going in a circle?
Yes.
So that's showing the channel where the LED light will be at the bottom of. And up here, where you see this vertical, that's probably, I don't know, less than an inch wide, that's, you're seeing the letters from the side. So the light will shine up. Oops, I went the wrong way. The light will shine up from underneath the letters and illuminate them from behind.
Okay. So
And it will
that-
look like,
that
it would look like
small
this.
photo on the right is what it will look like.
Yes, more or
illuminated.
less, yes.
Okay. I
Are
just,
we
that
proving that
completes
as well as the
picture.
round ones?
Madge?
We're proving that one as well as the round ones.
They
Correct.
want
Yeah.
approval for that one. That's right. That's right. Paige, do you have another question? We can't hear you.
No, I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Okay, Doug, do you have a question?
I don't, but just while I've got the microphone, I just say that a lot of people thought that this is a new restaurant, and Benihana company bought Haru years ago, so it's the same operator essentially. If anyone's curious about that, but that's all I have to say.
I have a question about, you said these signs will not be lit when the restaurant's closed, but this big sign, see how it's illuminated up? Does that interfere at all with the people who live above the restaurant?
No.
It's, I mean, that's not the intention, of course.
Of course not. I know that.
If, I don't think they'd be using enough lumens to be able
Okay.
to project the light that
Yeah,
high.
probably not. Right.
Which is why they depicted the extent of the light like this in this.
Yes. I
and
see
this
the
rendering?
little- Mhm.
There is someone here in the meeting who's from the sign company. If she wants to chime in, her name is Elizabeth. But I feel confident saying this is how they expect the light to project, is what they're showing in this rendering that they prepared.
Okay. I mean, if you want the person from the lighting company to say something, but we'll rely on your representation, and you've been here before.
Thanks.
Anybody else on the committee have a question?
I wanted to, now that you've shown this sign, could I go back, Michelle?
Sure.
So I was under the impression this was internal, when you use the phraseology, internally illuminated. I thought each letter would be illuminated, but it looks to me like what you have is a series of letters that have illumination behind them such that they would stand out in shadow. Am I reading that incorrectly now?
Well, yes and no. The face of the letters, hang on, get to the right note. So, well, yeah, so the face of the letters is aluminum plate, but they're going to have, hold on, make sure I don't misspeak. they're gonna have acrylic on the front. So then the light would shine through. So they're being lit from below and because of the light source coming behind it.
But it's not
Okay.
but the light isn't self-contained in the letters. It's sort of
Correct.
ambient behind it, and then it'll shine through the letters as well.
Yes.
Okay, so and so now you're showing us where the light is anchored. Will the light shining effectively end at the cornice? In other words, the overhang of the cornice will block the light from going further up the building?
I would say it's going to end before that. I mean,
Yeah.
they could angle the light if they needed to, but I think in my experience working on light fixtures and lit signage in other applications, including when I worked with the Landmarks Commission, I know that they can adjust the number of lumens to make sure the light only projects as far as they want.
Okay.
So I don't think the light would even reach the cornice.
Gotcha. Okay. I don't want to make more of this than it needs to be, and I want the restaurant to have what it needs. I'm convinced from what you just said that this is modest, and I also think that cornice makes a very effective boundary between the somewhat pedestrian storefront infill below and the very beautiful building which has recently been renovated and refurbished above, so that I think I can consider this appropriate. Those are my 2 cents if anybody cares.
Okay, thank you. Susan,
I do.
did you want to say something?
Yeah, can I ask a favor? Is it possible for you to blow up that shot on the right-hand side of page 10? So we just get a little better view of it. Yeah, thank you.
I mean, I can't, oh, there we go.
Okay, so I'm gonna ditto what Mark was saying. I was initially concerned that the light would shine up into the windows above, because I know across the street from my building, there are some bright lights that are permanently lit that really annoy some of the neighbors. But this looks like it's not that case. And I agree that the restaurant, this is appropriate and it's also separated. But so thank you for showing it more clearly.
Okay, thank you, Susan. Are there any members of the public who want to ask questions of the applicant?
Oh, and I'm sorry. Thank you, Doug Kleiman, for the explanation of
Yeah.
what happened to
we always-
her. 'Cause I kind of wondered.
Yeah, we always want to know this stuff.
It's for what it's worth, it's all the same staff working inside. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
a new name. They just need a new sign
Okay,
for their new name.
So
Any
I just had
members
a
of the
question about
public?
that.
no members of the public? All right, so,
I had just a question, Michelle.
oh yeah, sure, go ahead, Clary.
Sorry, it's just a little bit personal, but the RA, and based on what Jackie just said and Doug, is that Rocky Aoki? Is that what the RA is?
You know what? I don't know.
You know, that's a good question. It very might be. He passed away a number of years ago, and raw sushi has been a concept that they had throughout the country. They have, I mean, I'm calling it raw, but RA in Las
Yeah.
Vegas. That's a good, maybe it is.
I'm just asking, because I took his deposition about 35 years ago, so I kind of wondered, but
Wow.
Is that the answer,
Yeah,
Mr. Hatcher?
we call it Raw. It was a brand that was acquired by Benihana and it's owned and operated by Benihana, but not specifically for that reason. But it is Raw, you know, it's a sushi oriented brand.
yeah.
But nevertheless, a neat coincidence, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. All right, so then I propose a resolution that approves the application.
Oh, can I ask one question? Sorry,
sure.
I thought that there's a second part to the lighting, and I would call them lollipops, the red ones. Are
Mhm.
those are illuminated also?
Yes,
And how many of them are there?
2 internally illuminated, 2.
Internally illuminated. Thank you. Sorry.
All right. So I propose a resolution to approve the application as presented minus, the applicant told us the vinyl sign on the glass door was already approved at staff level. I propose the resolution to approve their application as appropriate to the West Side's Historic District. It is founded.
Michelle,
second
could you add something? Could you add something that just mentions that we're reassured that it's not going to create too much ambient light for the tenants above. Something along those lines.
Sure. Sure. Jay, you got that? Wherever you are?
Maybe in the whereases or.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Do I have a second to the?
Yes,
motion?
second.
Also,
Alright.
yeah.
All right. All those, let me just ask by person. I'm a yes. Jay? Motion to approve?
Yes,
Thank you. Paige?
No, for the upper part, because there's so many buttons, red buttons in the interior. I think there's a lot of signage here and I'm not sure the upper one is needed.
But
So
yes to
voting
the
no.
lollipop,
Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lollipop buttons on the facade that are
No,
illuminated.
no,
from the
no,
inside.
no, no.
two will be
No, that's not-
illuminated.
That's not correct. No, what you're seeing down below, you're looking at the red circles that are on the
Yes.
bottom.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
That's a, a temporary screen that's just put up around the sidewalk cafe.
Oh, so the only signage will be the RA Sushi Bar Restaurant?
No,
The two lollipops.
There's
Go
the
ahead,
two,
Jacqueline.
the two that are behind the windows
Okay.
and the one that's above the door. The ones that you see down by the sidewalk, the three that you see down by the sidewalk, those are on, temporary escutcheon, posted, why is the word escaping me right now? Like temporary fences that one person can pick up and move around. So those are just printed on those barriers for the sidewalk cafe.
Yeah,
So
the
that
barriers
would-
for the cafe are not those orange things. Those are construction barriers.
No, I know that.
Correct.
I'm looking at the red buttons. So sorry to be so pedantic, but the red buttons are advertisements that enclose the outdoor cafe component of this restaurant.
Correct,
Okay.
which Landmarks Commission is not regulating right now at all.
I know, but it's
No one
there. So you've got
Yeah.
3 buttons on the front that I can see and one higher up. My question
Mhm.
is, do we need an illuminated sign up above on this block? Because it does not have any illumination on the cornice. So I'm
So-
voting no.
For clarity, these fence panels are not illuminated. For
I know
clarity.
that,
Yeah.
but it's advertising and it very clearly marks a restaurant. So the question is,
restaurant.
Well, and Paige, I would say, of course, our focus is the increased visibility, in a commercial setting on this block, to better serve the community. We're putting forth this for the increased visibility.
So Paige, your vote is no because.
my vote is no, and I've
Okay.
given the rationale. Sorry.
All right, very
folks.
good. Mark,
I'm a yes.
Clary,
yes,
Madge,
Yes, and I think that the extra illumination is very beneficial to the whole neighborhood in the evening, to the liveliness and safety.
thank you, and Susan.
Yes.
All right, and that vote is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 0, 0. And Doug, what is your vote?
yes.
Thank you. Are there any other community board members here, maybe in the audience, that I didn't account for?
If you stop the screen share, we could see.
Oh, sorry.
I'm not-
so sorry.
I'm not seeing any myself at this time.
Oh, okay,
how do
Max.
Wait,
So the non-committee board member, Doug, is 1, 0, 0, 0. So the motion passes and we have approved your in our advisory capacity, have approved your application. Thank you.
thank you all. I appreciate your
what-
time.
Do you have an LPC date?
Yes. The 15th, November 15th.
November 15th. Thank you.
Do you have an opening date for the restaurant?
It's open. They just have been open without a sign.
Oh,
Yeah. So please go eat there. It's great.
Yes.
All
Okay,
right. Thank you
thank
all.
you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. The next application is 36 West 85th Street. That is an application for certificate of appropriateness to infill a portion of the existing L rear yard extension and increase the depth of the upper floor rear facade, restore the front stoop, replace existing double hung windows with casement windows, and expand an existing rooftop addition. Is that all? Who is here for that application?
So according to Jesse, oh, that's TBD.
I see Brian is raising his hand. I'm going to promote him to a panelist. Brian, just accept that. Okay, you got it. And Brian, is there anyone else from your team you'd like promoted? I just got on mute.
Then I have a question.
It's just me tonight.
Clear. Sounds
So,
good.
Are all of these parts of your application here? I see infill a portion of the existing L rear yard extension, increase the depth of the upper floor rear facade, restore the front stoop, replace existing double hung windows with casement windows, and expand an existing rooftop addition. That's 5 different pieces.
Yes, but a couple of clarifications. On the front, there are double hung windows that we're not replacing them with casements. We're going to be replacing them with historically appropriate double hung windows. And the expansion of there is an existing stair bulkhead now that we're just going to, we're adding an elevator to the building. So there needs to be a small elevator bulkhead, which means rebuilding the existing stair bulkhead.
So where does that fit in the 5? Because I kind of want to take, if everybody agrees, it should be, each one should be we should be separate.
Sure.
So I guess we'll start with infill a portion of the existing L rear yard extension.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, that's great.
Okay, so let me, if I could share quickly. Share screen, okay. It maybe the best thing for me to do would be to just kind of flip through quickly what the project is as a whole, maybe, and then we can talk about each piece one at a time. Might be my quickest thing. So this is 36 West 85th Street. We are the architects for this. I'm with Murdoch Salone. It's part of a three houses. I forget the actual term for it, but 3 kind of sister houses built in 1897. They're Georgian Renaissance revival. Our house is this one on the right, number 3. Here is it in some context. This is it in the street. You can see here that it's, obviously part of the Upper West Side Historic District. This is, our house is actually, it's not marked on here, but it is this kind of red brick one here in the center. And you will see from this aerial viewpoint that there is an existing L extension on the back, as are, as there are many of these houses. And we have done, it's difficult to get very good views of a lot of these, thank goodness for, Google and aerial photography. But we kind of done our best to illustrate that, a lot of these properties do have original and, expanded extensions that have been added throughout the years. This is it, from the back. Here's a kind of a better view. It is masonry, but it's been painted over quite a bit throughout the years. So if you will see, according to our plan diagram, you'll see that this is the existing extension you can see coming off of every floor. This house is a little unique in that it doesn't have a cellar. It just has a basement directly off the street. And what we are proposing, what we would like to do is, because this building has a lot of excess FAR, and we're pinned by zoning, so we're not able to extend up. We would like to take advantage of some of this additional space in the back and infill the portion of the L that is open, and then expand the top in order to take advantage of that space as well. So when we say infill area by the L, that's this kind of square here, and then the top 2 floors would come out and capture the extension of the building by 11 feet.
But it looks like you're not proposing on the first 4 floors to go quite as far back into the rear yard as the existing L. It looks like you still
we're
Yeah.
not, because interestingly, the L itself is closer than 30 feet
Yeah.
to the rear yard. I think it's 28 or something. So we're not actually allowed or proposing to go quite that far back. But that's okay. It just gives some relief on the facade. And then we would take this little piece on the 3rd floor as maybe a Juliet balcony or a small kind of step out area there. And we can, so you'll see here, like when we look at these plans, you'll see this line on the plan, which is the amount of space that is currently not, it's like dark, unusable space right now. I know it is void space, but it's not particularly pleasant. And it would be, it's my sort of client's feeling and ours that it would be kind of better served as interior space to give a better kind of feel to the backyard as well. And then up top, you'll see, so this is an expanded view of the outside. You'll see that we're, this is the L, the plane of which stays intact. And then this space here is all infill. We would want to open up these existing small windows back here, and then we would keep the profile and the shape of the existing windows here on the top floor, along with this decorative brick cornice that exists now. So we would be kind of bumping this out and rebuilding this along the expanded edge. And this is kind of a section of what that would look like. This is the new extension here. And then on top, you will see, here, there is an existing stair bulkhead appearing right now. There's not an elevator in the building currently. We do have an elevator spec that permits us to put a elevator mechanical room down in the basement. And the elevator itself will not serve the roof itself, which allows us to have a minimal overrun on the roof and sort of minimize the visual impact there. And then we provide just enough to have the stair bulkhead come up onto the roof for an occupiable roof. The only thing that we do need to do by code is extend the chimneys of the neighbors' houses, because they are, as far as we know, active chimneys. With our house has active wood burning chimneys on them, which we would like to maintain, and I would imagine that the neighbors do as well. So so these are not currently up to code, because when the bulkhead was built and the bulkhead on the neighboring property, which I believe is 34 West 85th Street, the chimneys were not extended. So we would need to take those up 3 feet above the highest, highest height of construction there. And this is kind of, you can see the condition here, what we would need to do. I sent this to you a while back, but we did, in the meantime, build the mock-up for this. I don't know if anyone has walked by and seen it, but this is, it's the proportion, it's the perspective on here is a little bizarre, but this is your bulkhead, and you can see the chimneys which we have to extend. And they are, the bulkhead itself and the elevator is not visible from the street. You can see the existing chimneys poking up just a little, and you know, that's kind of a code requirement that we're really, you know, even if we were not doing any work on the roof, we would still be, you know, legally required to extend those. So that's the condition there, unfortunately. And then on the front, we would be wanting to, this is the condition now, there's a non-historic door, there's some non-historic railings. In terms of the facade itself, we've had it analyzed by a consultant that we worked with quite a bit, and the facade itself is in pretty good condition. We're just gonna, you know, want to, you know, repair some of these decorative pieces that are broken, and we would want to rebuild this historic stoop condition that the neighbors also have, and then replace the door with something a little more historic as well. And that this, you know, these are our windows, and you know, they're, you know, historic, you know, Marvin or similar, you know. And then again, it's difficult to get into the back donuts of these blocks to really see what's been built back there. But you know, we did, you know, some research. You know, some of these are the Upper West Side, and then on the Upper East Side as well, which I know isn't you. You know, but there has been quite a bit of precedence over the years of people expanding their buildings, you know, in a non-visible way, you know, into the backyards of the space.
Maybe could you make those pictures larger on the screen?
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, so these are
Back to the prior slide.
yeah, these are, yeah, so here's some. This is on 83rd, 61 West 83rd. So you can see these have been built out, you know, at this, you know, the facade's been completely taken down and replaced, you know.
Do you know whether these West Side examples were all LPC approved, or whether any of them might have been done prior to or outside of designation of these buildings?
These are all within everything we've shown is within the Upper West Side Historic District. I don't know the history of these individual filings. However.
Yeah, that's the key question, is whether they were subject to approval or whether they predated the designation.
I mean, they look like new construction to me, which is why we put them in. I mean, we can verify. I can do some research and find out. But none of these look like they were built before 80. I mean, maybe this one in the center might have been built before. Yeah, when was the Upper West Side designated? It was 82 or something, right?
1990.
1990, yeah.
So they could have all been there before. Could you talk about the windows again?
Sure. On the front or on the back?
On the front, please.
On the front, okay. Yeah, let me find the front.
So you're not replacing, where it says replace existing double hung windows with casement windows, you're replacing existing double hung windows with double hung historic windows.
Yes.
And
yes.
that's in the front.
The casement is only on the rear. So the front windows would be, the focus would be the focus on the front would be restoration, right? And then on the back, we would still be, it would be more about, you know, amending the building but keeping in mind the historic character of the neighborhood.
And do you have more detail on your proposed restoration front door?
I do not, unfortunately. The intention was to match, you can see these are the neighbors' properties, and you can see that they're historic in character. So the idea would be to recreate one of these, probably not with this grill work on it, but definitely in this proportion and color and some historically appropriate hardware.
But you don't have a picture of what the door may look like.
It would look like one of these doors that you see.
Without the grill work.
Without the grill, yes. Yeah, I don't believe the grill work is original. Well, actually it was. Yeah, so. Yeah, so we may find the grill work is appropriate to that.
Well, it may not be original, but it was there by 1940.
Yeah, yeah.
So you replace it. All right.
Mhm.
Replace the door. Yeah. Jay, you were going to
Yeah,
say
so we
something?
I think you're
Sorry,
muted.
I was muted. My question was whether or not the applicant would be willing to commit to doing the door with something, at least something similar to the grill work, if not exact. And
I don't see why not. It's better for security anyway, so I'm sure they would be amenable.
so we could state in any resolution that the applicant has agreed to do either replicate or something similar to that grill work at what number building is that?
It's 36 is ours, so this is 32 and 34.
So it would be 30.
I think 34 is a little nicer, sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So behind the grill work, the door behind the grill work at 34, is that a, ooh, I see all those lights. I was wondering if it's a solid panel door, but now I can't figure out what it is.
No,
behind
that's no, they both have glass in them.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think this one's glazed too at 32. There's just light isn't on.
Anybody have anything to say about the infill of the existing
I sure do.
rear yard? Yeah, Mark?
Thanks.
Well, so are we finished with, I think we were going to take them in sequence. Are we finished with the front?
So the front is replacing the windows with historic double hung windows and restoring the
The
front
door.
stoop. And replacing the front door with historically appropriate door with grill work that is similar to the grill work at 34 West 85th.
Okay,
That would cover the front.
okay.
That works for me.
And the front stoop is going to be replaced with the same way as the other stoops, part of that building sequence.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
great that these three sisters are so close to intact.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so
How come they don't call them three brothers?
You could.
Yeah.
Never
Mark?
mind. Never mind, that's a whole other discussion.
Okay.
So
Mark?
I wanted to go back to the rear facade, if you would, and
Yes.
one of my challenges is that you don't show us the corresponding rear facades on either side. So I guess my question to you is, you're bringing out the rear facade to the 30-foot lot line and leaving the L extension to the extent that it pre-exists and goes even deeper. So by bringing out the rear facade to the 30-foot lot line, are you aligning with the facades next door, or are you in effect being proud of
It would align with the building next door. So you see this screen here, right? So this is our building here, this red one.
Right. So you're going to
Okay.
be well proud of the building in the group to your left on that photograph. Or...
No, it would come out to align with this building. So this building already has, so this is the, sister next door. So this is 34, right? So it would come out and align with this. So you'll see that this extension on,
But it would be well proud of the one on the other side.
It would, and it's a very unusual condition there. I don't know if you can see this building 38 is actually a whole floor lower than ours. It's this is the view from the backyard. So, we have this backyard and we have a retaining wall, and this building here actually has very little relationship to our building.
But is that a greenhouse on your building?
It's, I don't know, it's their tool, it's the tool shed of the previous owners or something.
But it's on your building.
It is, yeah.
So what happens to that when you do?
Well, that goes away.
It would go
away.
away, yeah. So this is just,
Temporary.
it's a
That's
temporary
where the
thing.
infill is, right?
Yeah, so I guess the point I'm trying to make is that generally speaking, what we look for and what LPC looks for is trying in these, when you modify the rear facade, to at least have a common line at the top level where you're maintaining the plane of the rear facades. And by making this in effect a full height addition, full width addition, except for the L extension on the first few floors that you're preserving, you are interrupting that plane.
Well, but I understand what you're
If I could
saying.
finish, maybe? If I could finish, please?
Yep, I'm sorry. Yes, please do.
Thank you. So, and moreover, the point is that usually that's maintained at the top floor, and that the top floor maintains its utilitarian windows that are usually punched openings, and have their original character 1/1, even in those places where we approve different fenestration below. And so I'm concerned that what you've got here is a proposal to interrupt that top floor and that coplanar existence along the marriage of those two groupings, because it looks to me like with the dental pattern that top floor lines up, even though you're correct that the two buildings are on the border between one group and another.
So this is the floor here. So there is no alignment between this top floor.
But they're in the same plane.
They're in the plane, yes, there is, yes.
And that's the same plane going to the east and to the west.
Correct.
And so that's my concern.
Understood.
Sorry, Paige?
Thanks. My concern is also at the rear. Can you pull up the existing and proposed drawing of the rear facade, please? One of the things that is interesting about this is that the curved windows and the fact that I don't know what happened to floor 4, but for the most part, maybe it's because of the door being added to that rooftop addition. But all of a sudden, it's very busy. And I know you're just working within the opening lines of the existing windows, but you're changing the configuration to a stylistic period that doesn't fit this building. And it's hard because yes, it's the back of the building, but I noticed also that the back of the building is lawn, and the building behind it protrudes quite in proximity to this project. And it changes the relationship and the scale all along. I'm just surprised that you didn't think of regularizing the window layout here. Presumably the little window on the 4th floor is a bathroom, and the same thing on the 3rd floor is a bathroom because it's smaller. But I'm not sure that as elegant as the proposed is, it's an awful lot of glass that changes the balance of the design, the original design. And I find this is too much. It's a lovely facade, but I have trouble accepting this for this project. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay, the front part I think is fine, but this one I think is because of the lawn and the exposure as you look down the back sides of these buildings. This is an awful lot of glass on that, which impacts the other neighbors, frankly.
Okay.
Thank you.
Susan?
to be really efficient here, what Mark said and what Paige said. And then I also have a question about, are we adding on top on the roof?
No, we're only rebuilding the bulkhead in order to accommodate the elevator. So so we will not be increasing in height on that. It's just the footprint is slightly different.
Okay, and then it seems I'll be in charge of stupid questions tonight. So
Sure.
self-appointed, by the way. My question is, why would you have to do something to bring the chimneys in the other two buildings up to code if you're not working on their buildings?
Because the chimneys are within 10 feet of our construction.
And how does that get managed, and are they okay with that? Are they currently owned by somebody else who's aware
They
of
are
it?
owned by someone else, but we would have an access agreement in place for that.
And have you spoken to them yet, or how's that, what's the situation? there?
Yes, I believe so. I would have to check with my client's attorney to find out where we are in that process.
Because that concerns me, I mean, deeply, because if I lived in one of those other two buildings and now my new neighbors wanted to come and do construction in my building too, just because they're changing, I mean, I would be unhappy about that. So I'd be uncomfortable not to know about that before I agreed to this. So I'm gonna have to abstain on that part of it.
Susan,
if you don't
Susan,
know.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but the neighbors are required to let them do that. There's
Okay. Okay,
Right,
thank you.
because it's a DOB requirement. They don't
So
have a
it's just-
say.
So it's just too
They don't
bad? Okay. Okay, thank you, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, for the record, we're also they're required to permit us to do that, but it would be on us to maintain the operability of their fireplace and whatever is in there. So the cost would bear on us, and then also the operability. So and obviously, nobody wants to make enemies out of their neighbors. So, we would want to.
And that's required because you're putting an elevator into the building.
Yeah, but it's because of the amount of work we're doing on the roof. And the fact that currently they're not extended by code. So, when the construction was done, originally they should have been higher, so yeah, I mean, I don't know if I have any pictures of the roof, but you can see, on 34, there's a bulkhead here, and the chimneys go directly up to the top of the, but really they should be higher than that by code. So
Could you show me where the bulkhead will be? Oh, there it is. I
yeah,
see
it's on
Yeah,
this level
I see
here.
that.
So-
Yeah, and one final point, I'm frustrated that there doesn't seem to be any sort of drawing that shows, or actual images that show in the rear what all three buildings are like, what the whole lineup looks like. That's very frustrating.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah, this is kind of the best I can do on that right now.
Yeah, even an illustration would have been better. That's just FYI, very frustrating.
Okay. Yeah, we'll do that next round.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't know who's next.
Well,
so-
yeah, sorry, go on.
Yeah, sorry, Clary?
Okay, so actually now I'm getting confused. This actually relates to my question. Brian, I thought you said that with the new construction at the back, the back facade would align with the building to your right, which would be 34. First of all, that didn't seem to me to make sense unless 34 itself, unless its extension also intrudes within the 30.
Yes, you were correct about that. And now that I'm looking,
and now that I look at the photo, it looks as if
It
it
would be
intrudes into the 30 feet more than you currently intrude into the 30 feet. It looks like. So
I believe it's flush on the
Flush.
extension.
it's flush.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Yes, you were correct.
So
We
they,
would-
like you, are farther into the rear yard than they should be, but what you're going to add will be about 2 inches further away from the back,
Mhm.
but it will continue to be flush as it now does. That looks like a drain pipe, actually. I was reading that as a recess, but it's a drain pipe over there. Yeah, I mean, we've approved, I think, more troublesome rear yard additions than this one, and we've seen a lot of more troublesome ones too. But to me, this is kind of borderline because of all those windows and all that glass and all of those panes in those windows. But I do think it's kind of within the range of what we and LPC tend to approve for these donut things. So I'm kind of on the fence about it.
Okay, Madge,
I have two questions about the roof. How much taller will the bulkhead be from where the elevated bulkhead? How much is
It will not be taller than what is currently built.
Okay. And the other thing is, you said that it was the two chimneys that were showing from the street. As you look up, as I walked by, you can see part of the mock-up.
Mhm.
And
That's
is
here.
that the other next door? Yeah, you can see it right there. What is that? And where are the chimneys for the next door that are going to be made taller?
So you'll see this kind of blockier chimney here
Yeah.
are the fireplaces for this building, 38.
Uh-huh.
These are the ones for ours. And technically by code, because most of these buildings have penthouses on them, historic penthouses. So by code, most of these chimneys should be extending to this height. They just don't. So, so when we do our construction, we're obligated to extend them by code. So that is why you see them. But obviously we would, make them out of masonry. We would do them whatever finish you guys would prefer in order to minimize their impact.
Those are my questions.
Okay.
Jay, did you have something else you wanted to say?
Yeah, well, I'll echo what Clary said about what we've done in the past. This pretty much comports with many of rear yard additions which we've approved. And I think it was Paige that said something about light and the neighbors. I can tell you, I live on the second floor of a mid-block building on West End, and the rear of my apartment looks down or up or however west right through a donut, and two buildings to the right is a brownstone that was totally renovated, including a brand new rear facade, and we approved very large single pane windows with side lights. And I can tell you that I think that this concern that's been expressed from time to time about the light from these windows somehow being disturbing or offensive to the neighbors is really a myth. I mean, this is normal. These are not spotlights or something. It's normal, apartment light, and it's at least speaking from my own experience, it's not at all disturbing. And there's plenty of windows along the donut and from the apartment houses, and it's just normal stuff. So I think that's a little bit mythical and doesn't really exist. And in general, I think it's fine. I think the divided light windows are appropriate to the character of what's there now. And while we pay a lot of attention to rear facades, we still should bear in mind that they are a far cry from what is visible in the front from the public way. And I think we've always allowed a little bit more leeway in terms of rear facades than we otherwise might if they were visible to the public. So I'm fine with this, and I think it's appropriate.
So you're fine with the
I'm fine with the rear.
rear window
presented.
placements. Okay.
Yes, yes, I am.
Okay. But there are some of you who are not in favor of the rear windows because they don't align with the character of the building. Am I right, Paige?
I don't think
Jay
they said
has
they-
misrepresented my statement. It's not that the light from at nighttime or during winter hours is glowing. It is an attribution of the type of window, that there will be more glass than masonry rather than as is now. So
Oh, it's
my
the style.
concern is the loss of the original triple, whatever this series of brownstone is, that it is a very substantial modification, even though it's at the back. The front and the back of the building should match. And this is clearly a very contemporary proposal. I'm not comfortable with a lot of the modernisms that are being added here. I don't
Okay.
mind about the upper floors or whatever, but please do not think that I'm worried about the light or the or any other thing. It is appropriateness of the modulation and the scale of the glass at the rear. That's all. Thank you.
It's a
I
style.
stand corrected, but the statement that the front and the back should match has never been, as far as I know, in my tenure on this committee and attending LPC, that the LPC has ever required that the front facades and the rear facades match, and they've approved
I
many
didn't say, Jay,
modern-looking facades.
Jay,
Wait,
wait a
let's-
second. I didn't say match. I meant
Yes, you
match
did.
the back. The
You
back
said the
is
front should
back
match the
windows.
back.
Okay, let's, you're into both entitled.
I'm not
to
voting on
opinions.
this one. Sorry.
Okay. Susan, do you want to say something?
Yeah, can we split the front and the rear into two separate parts of the resolution?
Yes,
Thanks.
I'm going to try to do that. Mark?
Yeah, the point I wanted to make is that while it is a big influx of glass, it is correct that we've approved bigger. You asked what my objection was about the rear. It wasn't so much the volume of glass, because Jay is correct in my estimation as to how much, the relationship between masonry and glazing does fit the prior precedents of our board. My concern is with the failure to adhere to the other, essentially it's the top floor window and the plane that it sits in. The top floor window shouldn't agree with the windows below it. It should agree with the windows left and right of it. And it should exist on a different plane. So if you split it, I'll vote no on the back and yes on the front and the top. I think the top is fine, by the way. So that is my long answer to your short question, Michelle.
Okay, so Madge, did you want to say something?
No, I said it already.
Okay, anybody, Clary, your hand is still up.
Yeah, I'm still, or up again. I'm really hope to clarify something here, at least in my mind. I'm not sure if everybody else is now as confused as I am. With regard to the rear, yeah, I'm fine on the whole front restoration. I'm fine on the top of the building. I fully understand legally the chimney issue. I don't think that's an issue. But on the back, what I think we've not seen, and I think we have some criticism of that, is actually a straight on view of what the current back extension looks like on number 34. So we've talked about back continuity on the backs, but I don't think we've seen the back of 34. We know that 38 is a smaller building and different, and it's just not the same. But Brian, have I missed something here? Do we have a depiction of
I do not have it in the presentation.
That's
no,
what
you're
I
correct.
thought. So I think partially the remarks have been made that have been made about continuity and or incongruity, on the other hand, of the adjacent neighbors. First of all, this would be only applicable to 34 because 38 is just a whole nother thing. But we can't really see it because we don't have it. We don't have a picture of it. But I do agree with Mark that, and maybe you could just one more time, Brian, show us the proposed rear. I do agree that the top floor in general, we want to remain as close to original as possible. And yeah, I mean, I think you're doing that. You have kept the two punched openings on the top. The plane has come out to 30 feet. Is that right, Brian? But your two punched openings, while they've got a lot more muntins, they match the existing. Isn't that right?
Correct. They would match in design.
Yeah. So while I share Mark's concern about differentiating the top floor, I think you've largely gotten there on the shape and size of the windows. You've not gotten there on the plane. It's not a setback plane. So thanks. I mean, it clarifies everything for me. It makes it harder to vote, but it certainly clarifies it.
Okay, do we have a,
Can I ask one more question, Michelle?
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Meg.
Yeah, I'm a little confused. We're talking about planes. We're talking about the vertical plane and how far out it comes, and it's not in congruence with the one next door on one side? Where
It apparently is in congruence with the one to the right, or with number 34.
one
Just
that's already had the addition.
haven't seen a picture of it. So
Right, but we have no, the one on the other side is totally unchanged, so we don't know where that's ever gonna go if. So
it's it's quite a different building on the other side, as Brian has shown us. With no extension, is that right, Brian?
It does have an extension.
On the
It's
other
just
side.
on the opposite side.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I may have some more on my server, but this is the best I
Yeah.
can kind of get at for the moment.
All right, Doug, did you want to say something? And then I want to kind of
Yes.
cobble together a resolution.
Yeah, obviously I'm not on this committee, but I want to ask a question for anyone who'd like to answer it. I understand that the bulking up is in and of itself to the lot line is an as of right. Is that a factual statement?
Yes.
Okay, I see a couple of heads shaking no. But here's my
Matter
concern.
of zoning, it's as of right.
Right, zoning, not an LPC necessarily, right? But what I'm saying is that to the flushing out the left side, I understand the right is already flushed.
Oh,
The left, as you're going to bring it forward to the 30-foot lot line, and I don't know this is within our purview, but won't it be a problem for air and light to the building next door to the left? And again, I don't know if this is something that should even be considered, but if you have a lot line there, but isn't that, I think Mark used the word very proud relative to the building to the left. It looks like it's going to then put part of that building in shadow. Am I wrong?
Doug, it absolutely creates a little cul-de-sac back there. That said, full width additions that aren't full height, but full width additions are routinely approved by LPC and are frequently approved by our board. I have shared that concern that you just raised, but I think that our precedent now as a board doesn't support that as a basis to consider this inappropriate.
Thank you.
Can I just jump in here and say that since I have not been on the committee, I've been here for a while, but not as long as CB7 has existed or this committee has existed. I often feel uncomfortable that there's a precedent that our committee has done X, Y, or Z. I really think that it's okay for people to look at it individually and say, okay, this is where I am on this. We're not the Supreme Court. Yeah.
And they're abandoning precedent anyway. So.
right.
Yes.
Clary, did you want to say something? Your hand is still up.
Oh, no, that's a mistake. But just on this last point, it is somewhat maybe by chance that the existing extension on this building happens to be on the right side. It could as well have been on the left side, which would have left that cul-de-sac, which would have created that cul-de-sac long ago. It just happens to have been on the other side. So I think the cul-de-sac bit is not our purview.
All right, I'm going to attempt a resolution here, and I'm going to divide it into front and back and top, I guess. So it sounds like the general consensus is to approve the restoration of the front stoop with a replacement, including a replacement of the door with a historical door and with grill work that is similar to the grill work at 34 West 85th. I think everybody agrees with that.
Excuse me, Michelle, I'm sorry. We didn't really ask, maybe it's obvious. What are the materials that are being used for the facade? Is it the same materials?
Well,
Yes. No, you mean for the front?
Yeah, the facade. The front facade.
Yes, we're just going to be yeah, I believe this. Yeah, this is just spalling, right? So we're going to I don't.
well, the steps are going.
The steps will definitely be cementitious. You know, with a. I believe the existing ones are limestone, so I think we would be proposing a cementitious with a stucco with the color to match the limestone.
Does that mean
That's on the stoop.
On
Sorry,
the stoop, yes.
Susan, I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
cementitious means cement?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, what about the rest of it?
The rest of it, we would probably propose to remove the paint off of this facade. And then we would want to just repair the decorative elements. I don't think we'd be patching with limestone because I don't think we would be able to get a very good replacement there, but we would probably use a cementitious patching compound that would match the limestone.
And what's the lifespan on that when you attach it to limestone?
We would get one that has a healthy lifespan. Sure.
Can I make a suggestion that you consider something like Jan patching materials? These are things that are compatible with brownstone and or limestone, and
Sure.
you can get
Yep.
a color match.
I'm open to any product that.
So I would, and there are several companies that make these products rather than using cement, because cement is
Yeah.
just rougher and very visible once it dries.
Okay. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, we have there's a, I don't know
Thanks,
if you know, Excellent Construction, who's working with us on this. We've done like 4 or 5 different brownstones and houses with them. So we would kind of defer to them on the final material, but it would definitely go through the full landmarks approval of the spec and the color and all of that.
Well, I would hope as the architect that you take the lead in making sure that the contractor finds the appropriate material.
Of course. Yes.
Thank you.
And I'd appreciate if we had that in the resolution, Michelle. Thanks, Paige.
Mhm.
So we're
And
more or
window.
less in agreement with the front stoop and the facade of the front facade.
And the windows,
Pardon?
windows.
Front
Yes.
windows.
Now, we're in agreement on the front window replacement with historic double hung windows. We're on agreement, I think I said replace the front door with historically appropriate door with grill work that's similar to the grill work on 34 West 85th. We are on agreement with, we agree with, and that's why I said top, rebuilding the bulkhead to accommodate an elevator and rebuild the chimneys to meet code, but we didn't say what materials to use on the chimneys. Paige, you wanna?
We would, let me see what it is now.
Brick.
It would definitely be a masonry chimney, and we would probably face it with stucco and a light color.
I would use brick. Brick is fire rated and it's easier to build. And I'm sure that if you went back to the site and looked across the chimneys, both for the party walls and for the chimneys, they're usually brick with a limestone cap.
Yeah, the ones out here. Yeah, you're correct. Right. So we would do a brick extension to match the.
That's much better.
With a
Thank you.
limestone cap?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay. So we agree with that. Now, with, let's go to the rear. Are we in agreement with an infill of the rear yard addition?
Michelle, I'd like to, if I could, to try a wild card with Brian, who may not be able to speak on behalf of his clients, but I think some of us at least are most troubled by, we don't love the whole thing, but we're troubled most by the fact that the top floor would come out to the 30-foot limit as opposed to be recessed, which is much more typical. Understanding that the purpose of the owners is to obtain as much usable space as they can within the zoning laws. Nevertheless, Brian, do you see any possibility that your clients might be willing to maintain the current setback on the top floor while pulling the first 4 floors as before you get to the 5th floor to the 30-foot line? That would be
can.
me.
Yes, I can discuss. It is something I cannot speak for them, but I can definitely discuss it.
I mean, I would have a lot less trouble saying yes to this if the current setback was retained, or the original rear facade plane was retained on the 5th floor, while the others were pushed back to the 30.
Yes, I understand, and I will take this comment seriously and talk to them about it.
So I would suggest, Michelle, that if we do choose to approve the rear yard, that it be conditioned upon that 5th floor remaining in its current plane.
Would you recommend keeping the addition across the back with the ladder and the terrace? Is that acceptable to our group? No, I'm asking our committee just to make sure that in the back, where you're also asking for a staircase from the 2nd floor and the terrace in the recess. So I think
is it a terrace or a small balcony?
Balcony, whatever. We didn't actually, I don't recall the plan, but I think that's appropriate.
We've seen a lot of them, that kind of ladder.
Yeah.
What's the problem?
Nothing. I just want to make sure that we put that in correctly as a positive thing.
And if I'm interpreting the plans correctly, while I agree with Clary's proposal about the plane of the top floor, it appears that there is existing corbelling that creates a mini cornice on the rear facade on the existing condition. And it appears as though the proposal is to recreate it on the new facade. So while I don't support the new facade, I think it is a point in its favor that they do make that proposal, so that maybe the minutes should reflect that too, or the resolution should reflect that too.
I don't see what you're referring to, Mark.
I don't
So on the top floor of the existing condition, there is corbelling, and they propose to recreate it on the expanded 5th floor. And
wrong term. I think it's not corbelling, but maybe it is.
Oh, what is it? Is it a cornice?
Yeah.
It looks like a turned brick. That's what they tend to be because they used to hold the gutters up.
Yeah.
And corbelling is more like brackets.
Whatever the detailing is that they propose to replicate it, and I think that's to their credit.
I'm kind of getting lost in all the details here.
Yeah, me too.
And so,
Can I, Michelle, if I can, I want to make sure I understand what Clary is talking about, and I apologize because after all these years, I should. But what I'm hearing is that we're eliminating from the new extension the 5th floor. Is that,
No.
by saying that it be in the same plane?
I think, Jay, what I meant is we would, in a shorthand way, I think that's correct. It would stay in the existing plane, but they still would be changing the windows for these multi-pane windows in the same openings. I think if I'm following that, Brian.
Well, that's not, no, you said that keeping the existing plane on the 5th floor.
Right.
I'm not understanding. I apologize, but I'm not understanding what that means.
It means that instead of bringing it to a clean 30 feet from the rear yard, from the rear lot line, it would stay, it is basically the original back wall of the building, and it would stay there on the 5th floor while. the
Okay, so
floor would be
if it stays at the original wall of the building, then that means that part, the 5th floor of the new proposed extension is gone.
That's correct. I believe that's what Brian said he would discuss with the clients, and my only wrinkle
Okay,
on.
so
my
it's
only
not
wrinkle on
just,
it is it does
it's
appear to
not
be
just
replaced
moving
on-
it, it's
Yeah.
not just moving it, it's eliminating the 5th floor of the extension.
That's one way to say it, yeah.
But would you
Well,
leave
that's
the
what you're
windows the same,
doing.
Clary? Clary, would you leave the windows the way the proposed windows?
Feel strongly about that. I mean, I think that maybe the current windows may be problematical, and they may want to put replacement windows, even if and Brian, you can speak to this. Even
Well, in this case, if it were to stay, what we would need to do, because there wouldn't be a way to really shore up that part of the facade. So what we would need to do is take it down and rebuild it in the precise configuration that's already there.
that's what we heard about last week and got it, or last month, and got such a big into
So-
trouble with.
We've done that before, by the way. We salvage bricks and then, document everything very closely and then rebuild it once the new structure is in.
So the infill would only go up to the 4th floor.
That's my proposal, and
That's Clary's proposal,
my
not
proposal,
not the
necessarily
applicant's
what anybody
proposal.
else would.
No,
Yeah,
I think
Mark kind of liked it, but
it makes sense.
Why?
Because the configuration of the windows, the only difference is the infill, instead of a double hung window. I'm assuming these are casement windows, if I can see right. Yes.
Yes,
Casement
correct.
windows, and they're both different sizes. So the quirkiness and the originality will still be there. It's just will be a different glass configuration. Instead of 1/1, it will be 6 paneled.
So you're
Michelle, if I may,
yeah,
we,
thanks.
this is getting very confusing.
Yeah.
And procedurally, we don't have an agreement to reduce the proposed infill from 5 floors to 4 floors. So what we should be voting on is to whether approve or not approve the 5 floors. And unless there is, those folks who seem inclined to vote against the rear yard will vote for it if that's occurred where we could make it a condition. I think this discussion is very interesting, but we need to vote one way or another on the 5 floor infill as presented, up or down.
Jay, you're correct, but I think it could be phrased as disapprove unless.
Okay, well,
But,
no, I
Clary,
agree with
Clary,
Jay.
again,
Procedurally, we have to
that-
vote on,
that would imply that if it's 4 stories, then you guys who seem, or at least a couple of you who seem disinclined to approve it in any event, would approve it if that were the case. And I don't think that's the case.
right,
So
so,
I think
So-
we should keep it clean, vote on it as presented. And if at some point it changes, for those of you who don't like it the way it is, great. But I think we need to vote on it as it's presented.
I agree with
Jay,
Jay.
yeah, I do too. So
I have one
vote on
question.
it as presented and then vote on the infill for 4 floors instead of higher.
Well, that's not what's being presented,
Yeah,
and
that's true.
Brian can't represent that his client would agree to that. I think we should just vote it. It's up or down.
Okay.
Personally, I'm going to vote, if the resolution is to approve it, I'm going to vote for it. If somebody proposes a resolution to disapprove it, I'm going to vote against that resolution because I'm prepared to approve it as presented.
So it could go either
That's
way.
what we need to vote on.
Let's just do it because it
Yeah,
could go
let's do
either
it.
way.
May I ask
Yeah.
a question? A question, quick.
Of course.
What's the advantage of having the fifth floor made smaller? What does that
Be
serve?
eliminated.
It's not made smaller, Madge. That's my
Eliminated.
point. It's
What's the
eliminating it.
purpose? What's the
It's-
purpose? of
It
it?
stays where it is. Madge, I think the primary purpose is that is the pattern of the vast majority, to my knowledge, of rear yard extensions in these donuts, is that they may go up 3 floors, they may go up 4 floors, but they do not go to the top floor. So it'd be uniformity of approach throughout the donuts. Is that right, Mark?
That is
Basically.
correct. And what I would add to that is that it maintains an integrity of a grouping instead of the internal integrity of the house, so that the house corresponds or relates in a plane to those on its left and right side. That's why what Clary just described is typically, although not uniformly, what is done. So does that answer your question, Matt?
Yes.
Okay,
We're
then
gonna,
I think that we should start taking
yeah, we're
votes.
gonna
because
take
it's
some
end of the
votes now.
Yeah,
We're gonna take some votes. So
And
let's,
we're in three,
we're in 3 categories,
sections.
right? That's right.
Right, okay. So
Uh,
let's start.
Let's do the infill first. Let's do that part of the application.
Well, why don't we take it logically, Michelle, and go front to back?
Front to
Let's
back.
do the front first,
Okay,
because that seems to be the only thing where we have.
We agree. Okay, so
Committee.
I won't repeat all the details, but the front,
No,
the first part of the vote is to restore the front stoop, to replace the front door, to rebuild the bulkhead to accommodate the elevator.
no, that's the roof.
So there's 4 parts of this.
No, there's the roof.
I think you're likely to get yeses on the roof as well as the front, so why not just take 2 votes?
Okay. so
Okay,
We're gonna do the
Okay.
restore front stoop, replace the front windows with historic double hung windows, replace the front door with historically appropriate door with grill work, and rebuild the bulkhead to accommodate the elevator, including rebuilding the chimneys to meet code, build them of brick with limestone cap. So on that part of the application, may I please take a vote on the motion to approve that part of the application? Susan?
Yes, as long as you mention about the suggestions Paige had about the materials in the front.
Jan, JAHN or similar for the facade.
Okay,
And the caution about using cement. That was my concern.
Yes. Yes, no cement.
and no cementitious material.
well,
No.
I'll vote,
Okay.
I'll vote for it, but I want to go on record as saying that I don't think it's our function to prescribe that kind of detail in terms of the architect's responsibility and the contractor, but
You're voting in favor of the,
yes, I'm a yes.
I'm a yes. Susan? You're a
Already
yes?
put it. Yes, yes.
Madge?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes, and I guess Jay is drafting the resolutions, but I think Jay is correct, and I don't agree with those specific directives as to materials, so I don't know where we end up on that, but I'm voting yes.
Okay.
The reason why is because it's going to be, never mind.
Madge? I mean,
Or voted yes.
Mark
I'm a yes.
and Paige.
Yes,
Okay. Is Doug still here?
I'm here. I'm a yes.
Okay, so for the committee, for the, those front and top roof parts of the application, the vote is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 0, 0, 0. And for the non-committee board member, it's 1, 0, 0, 0. Thank you. Now, we have the infill. The
Michelle,
application,
what was the vote for the committee?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, thanks. 7, 0.
Thank you.
Sorry. 7,
Michelle
0,
gets 2
0,
votes because
0.
she's working so hard.
Now, for the
Match has 2
infill,
pictures.
Let's go to the infill. The application is to infill a portion of the existing L rear yard extension.
Why don't you just say the rear facade? Because there's that, there's the windows, the whole thing.
Okay,
Yes,
so, okay, rear facade. We have a windows.
well, we're
And-
not breaking it down further. We're just, let's keep it just the rear facade.
So I'm interpreting Jay as making a resolution to approve as presented the rear facade. Am I correct, Jay?
I'm happy to do that.
Okay, so that's the resolution and we should vote on that. And then if it doesn't pass, we can figure something else out.
Either way, you could do it either way, Mark.
Okay.
I just want to do
So
it.
let's
Yeah.
take a vote on the rear facade. That portion of the application that concerns the rear facade, which is the infill of the L, the rear windows, and
And that little balcony and the
Yeah.
staircase thing. Yeah.
yes. Okay. Susan,
No,
Madge,
Yes,
Larry,
Given our discussion, no.
Mark,
No.
Paige,
No,
Jay,
Yes,
and I'm a yes. So that vote is 1, 2,
4 to 2.
3. What?
4 to 2.
no, it's 4 to
Oh.
3.
I think
what
it's 4 to
happened?
4 to 3.
No,
Four.
it's 3 to 4.
No, it's 3 to 4.
Sorry,
3 to
you're a no,
4.
Michelle? It's 4 to 3.
I'm a yes.
Oh, you're a
It was,
yes?
wasn't
Okay,
it 3 yes and 4 no's?
3
Yes.
yeses,
Yes, it's
1,
3
2,
to
3,
4.
4
I'm
no's.
sorry, 4 to 3.
So let's, somebody make a motion to reverse it.
All right, so now I offer.
By the way,
a
I was an abstention there, just in
Yeah,
case.
Doug,
Abstention.
abstention. Thank you.
All right, so now I will make a motion to disapprove the rear facade as presented unless the top floor remains at the current plane of the common plane of the buildings behind it.
Which means eliminating the 5th floor.
If
correct.
you want to look at it that way,
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
eliminating.
yeah, thank you.
Well, that's what, that's the result of it.
Let's not go there. Let's not go
Okay,
there. I
okay.
said it as clearly as
So
I can.
now there's a motion to disapprove unless.
No, the motion to
Mark
approve.
said. Okay,
Right. Disapprove unless the 5th floor remains in its current rear plane.
Okay, so I have a headache now. So Mark, what do I do if I don't like that either? I don't want to approve this.
then you say no.
I don't know about that.
No,
No, because the no might become a yes.
Yeah,
In
can we
terms of
just
the alternate work.
leave it as a disapproval and just move on rather than redesigning
You
the.
vote yes for the
project plan?
disapproval, but don't like the if you vote yes on my resolution, then you will disapprove the rear facade unless they pull it back.
Right, but that's not all, that's not the only part I don't like. So what do I do? So I can't vote on them. It's,
So then you vote no.
Don, you vote no, right? Correct.
Although Susan, I think that, I mean, you'll vote obviously the way you want to vote, but I think that the rationale and the reason to do this is that we will have potentially more influence at LPC if we tell them what, at least it appears the majority of us think is the most wrong thing about this. By including in the resolution, not just disapproval, but including the unless thing, because that tells LPC where we're coming from, although I know you're coming from additional places as well.
right, and I appreciate the creativity and the strategy of that, but if you could do something about the windows on top of it, I'd be grateful, but I don't think that's worth anyone's time at 8:20. So
So
I
maybe
just-
abstain.
Okay, so I'll take the vote on the disapproval unless. And I'm a no. Jay?
Wait a minute.
No.
This is, I thought we were approving at this point. I thought we were.
No.
approving.
No, that failed. That failed for
No,
3 to
we're
4.
approving with the 5th floor. I thought.
No,
that's
we're
a-
disapproving unless. This is a vote to disapprove unless they retain the current plane of the 5th floor rear.
Right.
Yeah, I really, and I'll put it in the resolution, whether it's stated that way or not, that just saying unless they retain the claim is not going to inform the full board as to what that means. It means 4 stories instead of 5 stories. And I think we need to say that.
We have to
Okay.
say that. I
Okay.
agree.
I think that's fine.
So, I'm a no, Jay's a no, Paige? This is the disapprove unless.
Disapprove unless we keep it as 4 stories, right? I'm lost in all of the, it's not clear to me what we're disapproving. Jay, can you say your statement again, please? I'm sorry.
Oh, the resolution was to disapprove the infill extension unless the 5th floor is eliminated.
Okay.
And
So that,
that's what it is. Am I correct, Mark?
Yes, yes, you are.
Okay.
So Paige, does that clear things up for you to be able to
not
vote?
really, but I'm gonna vote. I don't
Well, you
want
voted no before.
I know, I'm gonna say no.
Okay. Mark,
I'm a yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Madge,
Yes.
and Susan. You're a no, sorry. Susan?
I'm still pretty confused about this. I think if
I
say
am too. Can
I'm really
please
uncomfortable.
state
Yeah.
that- Can you please?
If I
state
may,
that-
as the proposed writer of I think the problem here, and Susan and Paige, correct me if I'm wrong, is that whether it's 4 stories or 5 stories, you don't want to approve it,
Right, correct. Yes.
right?
All right,
So
so I'm
that's-
gonna withdraw my motion. Susan, why don't you make one?
I think we should just leave it the way it was and disapprove it. That's that 4-3 disapproval. I hear what you're saying, Clary, but I can't approve this.
Yeah. That's the issue.
Thank you.
Okay, so
Thank you very
that's the way so Susan, if you're making a resolution simply to disapprove as presented.
Yes, for the following reasons.
Without spelling
Yeah.
out, and Jay's stuck
No, I
writing
would-
it,
No, I would
without
say-
spelling
I would
out
say-
what the issues have been that caused us to vote that way.
No, I was trying to say, I would say for the following reasons and then elaborate what the concerns were. And Paige could do a much more eloquent job of that than I could, but for me, it has to do with the bulk and the windows configuration.
All right, why don't we take a vote on that and see what happens?
Well, that was the vote we just had.
Yeah,
No.
I thought that was what we were agreeing
No.
to.
No,
We haven't voted yet. I made a motion to approve it. That motion was defeated.
No,
Correct.
Now
I'm
we
sorry.
are
What I'm saying is I don't want to make any alternate recommendations. I just wanted to keep it as what we did, which was a vote on the presentation as it was. And for that, it was 4-3 and it was not approved.
It was 3-4. It was not approved.
Okay, 3 against and 4, whatever. It was not
Well,
approved.
what we normally do when a motion to approve is voted
Denied.
down, we reverse it and make a motion to disapprove.
Okay, thank you. So then my motion would be to disapprove this as presented. Thank you.
Correct.
Yes,
Okay,
and so thank you
so
very much. And so my
I'm
answer to
going
that
to
is
take a
yes.
vote on that.
yes, thank you. Thanks.
Disapprove,
Yes.
approve as presented. All right, so Susan,
Yes. But elaborating for the following reasons, and they are to do with the bulk of it, bulk of the infill and the window configuration.
Correct.
okay. Madge?
Well, that,
Yeah.
okay.
No.
Larry?
the more we elaborate, the more inaccurate I think it is, but I guess I'm saying yes to this one, the result being disapproval.
Mark?
Same.
Yes? That's yes, Mark?
That's yes with everything that Clary just said.
Paige?
Yes, what Susan said.
Jay?
I refuse to write a resolution that says what Clary said
That's
and what
okay.
Susan.
You can eliminate
So
that.
I'll write that one. I'll write that one, but don't worry about it.
What's your vote, Jay?
All right, well, wait a minute, that's for the record. Mark is going to write the resolution on this
Yeah, we
application.
heard that. Mark, you're in.
Hashem, thank you.
And I vote no on the resolution to disapprove.
And the reason for that is because Jay always
And
votes. the
I
opposite
do
way from the way I
also.
vote. Yeah.
I vote no. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 0, 0. And Doug?
I vote yes. What Clary said, what Mark said, I'm sorry. Yes.
Maybe you'd like to write it, Doug.
Okay.
Oh,
So I
God.
think
No,
we
I'm
got it.
serious. Mark, you're going to write this one.
I'll write that one, no worries. And Doug
1,
will
2,
do it like the
3,
pajama
4.
game, the
4,
telephone
3,
story.
0, 0.
And Mr. Findlay, I'm very sorry for all this kerfuffle.
Oh, don't worry
This
about
has
it.
been
Seriously, even if it doesn't seem
exhilarating
it.
and interesting. And thank you very much, Mr.
Sure.
Finn.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right. We have next 48 West 85th Street.
We're
That
halfway.
is an application for a one-story rooftop addition and replacement of the rear facade.
I see Jordan. I just promoted Jordan. Oh, and Eric.
This is the same block, right?
Yes,
That's
very
a lot-
nice block. You all should take a tour up and down the block. They have really beautiful buildings there.
Absolutely.
everybody.
Hello, and it's a quiet block too, not a lot of traffic.
Well, it's not
Construction.
quiet if both these projects go on at the same time.
Yes, but
Yeah,
I
well,
didn't tell
Really good
anybody.
wine bar.
All right, so who do we have for this application at 48 West 85th Street?
So I'm Jordan Rogoff, a principal at DXA Studio. I'm joined with my colleagues and the project team. We have Eric Lundberg and Lester Katz. He's somewhere, maybe he hasn't been promoted yet, or maybe he's just watching.
And
But anyway,
Eric's twice. We have Eric Lundberg twice.
Well, he's so good, I could use him twice in the studio, so
All right.
it works for me.
Great to
So,
hear that.
excellent. Before I get started, just wanted to say we've been on for a little while. We heard you talking about West Park Presbyterian. A note of thanks to those of you that are advocating to keep the church going. As somebody who has interest in that, thank you for that effort. That's a pretty important one. We have been before you before. Many of your faces are very familiar to me. We were here previously, I think most notably with 140 West 81st Street, which is the church project, church conversion project, which is nearing its completion now. It's been a lot of years, but anyway, that was one of the projects that we were here before you. We had a great conversation about that. And so anyway, it's nice to be back here. As mentioned, we're applying for a certificate of appropriateness with LPC, and that is for a partial story rooftop addition and an alteration to the rear elevation. And a lot of the same kind of topics that came up with the preceding presentation. I think you guys have covered it, so we might be able to get through the presentation relatively quickly based on kind of conversation that we overheard and your deliberations. We are hoping to get in front of LPC on the 15th of next month, November 15th. However, that hasn't been confirmed yet. I believe the next date then would be the 22nd. So it's well after the full board, so we should be just fine. So
Yeah, I didn't ask the last applicant when they were in front of LPC.
so they said the 15th.
They said that, I just didn't hear that. Okay, I appreciate.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. So with that, if Eric 1 or Eric 2 can bring up the presentation, we can go through.
Let me know when you guys can see my screen.
Can see the screen. It's great.
Great. Okay.
So keep going. So we'll start just with the site. Very familiar with it. We're literally 6 doors down from the previous applicant. So Upper West Side Central Park Historic District and kind of the northern portion of that. We are located on West 85th Street between Columbus and Central Park West. Keep going. This, I think, is a very helpful elevation and place to really start the conversation. You can see we're dead center in this. The previous applicant was all the way to the left there is building number 36. And notably, even though the scales are a little funky. I think he's a story taller. At 5 stories, we're technically a 4-story building. And we are a part of an aggregate of 5 properties, and you'll see 48 to 56. If they look similar, it's because they are. These 5 were built together in 1900, and the cadence of it is really kind of an A B A B A. So you see that kind of repetition throughout. The architects behind this, and this is kind of fun for those of us that get excited about history, are Tom and Wilson. And they did the Harlem Courthouse and then the Manhattan Criminal Court, known to tourists as the Law and Order building. And so this was part of their kind of prolific residential portfolio. If you go to the next one. So here are some historic tax photos. Obviously, we were built in 1900. The first photographs that we were able to unearth are the tax photos from 1940. You see on the left. In the middle is one of the worst tax photos I've ever seen. Looks like it's in a moving car, and it's got the blurriness and a tree in front of it, so it's not so helpful. But then we've got the current photo, 2022. I think one of the things you see right away is that the previous owner took very good care of it. The brownstone's in great condition on the front of the building. And really the only 2 areas of concern, and Eric, you can go ahead and flip to the next one where we start showing details. The only things, or if you go back one, Eric, I'm sorry. The main thing that's happened over time is that obviously the original historic windows have been removed and put in place are some pretty cheap, low quality aluminum windows. And so what we're proposing here is to restore to wood windows. However, our client would very much like to keep these as casement windows rather than double hung, as the kind of the break line on the double hung just happens to happen right at eye level on most of the locations, so that there's a great desire to do that, even though it deviates a little bit from the original historic profile. And when it comes to the doors and the other woodwork in the building, the front doors and the stoop doors, those we believe are the original wood doors. They've seen better days, so our intent is to actually take them off site, restore them, and bring them back, so they'll remain exactly the same. So we are very fortunate to have inherited a like fantastically well taken care of elevation here. So if we keep going here.
Can I ask a question?
The front facade is not in part of our application.
It is not part of the application except for the windows and the doors. That's it.
Can I ask a question? On Zillow, sure. The interior shots of this look outrageously gorgeous. Are they accurate? This is the part that hurts my heart. We inherited this project from another architect. And that architect advised on ripping everything out. And they started doing the work, and the client realized they had made a terrible mistake. And most of the interior material, which was immaculate, is gone. And it's horrendous. It's horrendous because that is like the essence of kind of the value of this place and the history. And so we're doing what we can to kind of expose brick on the interiors in a number of places. I know it's not germane to what we're talking about tonight, but we're doing the most we can with just a little bit of historic fabric, unfortunately.
So let's take a step back. We are, even though it is not in our agenda, for our consideration is the replacement of the front facade windows from aluminum to wooden casement windows. Am I right?
That's exactly right. Yep.
And the restoration of the wooden doors.
Correct. Exactly.
Of the present wooden doors.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so
right.
that's part of our consideration.
Can I ask a question on the casement? Are they going to be center pivot, vertical pivot windows?
We had thought just kind of standard casement, but if that's something that this committee feels strongly about, absolutely consider that.
No, my question is just to clarify what you're proposing.
Yeah, no, standard kind of hinged casement.
Okay, great. All right.
And inside and top?
I'm sorry, not like a tilt and turn. No,
Right.
just a standard casement.
Okay, got it.
Single directional.
And not aluminum or steel clad, the exterior cladding is wood?
It is a wood window, but frequently, and in this case, we're hoping to do a metal clad wood window. So while they're wood windows, they have the wood profiles, they're made out of wood. There's a protective cladding on the outside of the wood, which requires much less maintenance and extends the life of the window dramatically.
What company are these? Marvin? or
These are
something?
Marvin. Yeah,
Yeah,
these
I
are
know.
Marvin
I'm
architecture,
asking 'cause
our
I've
architect
got-
series.
I've got those windows.
Nice. Yeah, they're very good.
But the
Okay.
inside will be
Is wood.
wood.
Correct.
Inside's-
Okay, you get a point.
Okay,
Excellent. Thank you. Maybe I'll have to use that later.
And what color would the cladding be then, of the exterior metal cladding?
So the cladding is, and you see a lot of the metalwork here. It's like a charcoal gray. So a color that we've used on a lot of brownstone and townhouse renovations. It's called Black Panther. It's a Benjamin Moore like historic color. And it's not black. That's the irony of the name. It's actually like a beautiful, like muted charcoal.
Mhm.
So if you keep going, Eric.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now talk to us about this one-story rooftop addition.
Well, if we could go to the back of the building first, the back of the building, and this is kind of where a lot of attention was given to the previous applicant. Here, what we're proposing isn't just adding on like the previous applicant, it's that there is the same dog leg. And again, we're 1 story shorter. There's a dog leg on the bottom 2 stories plus basement, because the grade is different in the back, right? Than at street level. And what we're proposing is that is actually non-compliant in that it's less than 30 feet from the rear lot line. What we're proposing is actually to shave off 3 feet off of the back of that, and then to bring the recessed portion forward to meet that, so that we have a flush kind of singular rear elevation.
For how many floors?
That would be, we're 4 floors, so it would be for all 4 floors.
Are we seeing a photo or a?
Yes, no, we'll go there. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I just want to talk about the quality. The brick, even if we were to say the brick stays in the same place, there's significant spalling that's been kind of held together, like scotch taped together with an elastomeric coating. So it's kind of like a gooey coat that's holding it together. So even if we were to keep it in the same place, we're going to have to rebuild it. So that's one consideration. And then below, the bottom 2 stories have been altered over time, and we can show some photos. You can see in the bottom right-hand corner, there's a standing seam metal kind of projected little area, all of this, and then kind of some strange non-historic metal doors placed there. So there's been a significant amount of alteration to the rear of the building. There you go. And there's a stair that goes down, spiral stair. So anyway, keep going with the presentation, Eric, if you don't mind.
Got it. Yep.
So there was a lot of talk about the donut previously. So here's a shot from the top of our building, again, 6 doors down from the previous applicant. We think cutting back the dog leg is actually a net positive, because it's kind of bringing that line back on the bottom several stories of our building. And the other thing to note in this photograph is the amount of alteration that's happened across many of the neighbors, and we have more info on that in a few slides.
Who are you in this photograph?
Who am I?
Hey, which is your building?
Oh, we're on the building. We're standing on top of the building.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, so here, just a quick comparison side by side. On the left is the existing elevation, and as we mentioned, the wood windows and the refurbishment of the wood doors. And then most importantly, I mean, the big ask here today is the vertical enlargement of partial story. It's really a 20 foot by 20 foot penthouse that's set back 18'6" from the front of the building and about 20'5" from the back of the building. Why that's important is when we get to sections, we'll show you it's not minimally visible, it's not visible at all. So from all vantage points up and down the street, there's no visibility. And so that's an important part of it. Here is a comparison of the proposed elevations. On the left is the existing elevation. On the right is with the alterations that I mentioned, chopping off the tail basically, and then bringing back the body and having a singular rear elevation. What we've done is we've kept the punched openings of the previous. We've enlarged them to get more daylight into those bedrooms. And then in the public spaces of the building, the bottom few stories, we've gone much more glass, open, and then there's kind of small terrace areas that are a part of that. We are using new brick or proposing new brick, but based on the historic brick. So it's the same modular brick, same red brick color. And that's kind of the basis of the envelope. And then the windows that we're doing back here, we're proposing an aluminum window, but they are a steel profile aluminum window. So they're thinner profile, higher end window. So again, it's about getting more daylight in there. When we're in the current building with the current apertures, they feel quite small. And contemporary sort of preference is to get a little bit more light in there, especially when you have such a beautiful shared court or shared rear yards between all the buildings.
It looks like all these windows, top to bottom, are casement. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes. So, and again, here you see the vertical enlargement, the 400 square foot pop-up or penthouse. Again, it's not considered a floor, it's a partial story. But that, again, that's set back on this side, 20'5".
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Michelle?
Yes, of course, Mark.
Thank you. So you're showing us again, just the plan for your house. Is there an L extension on, I guess it would be 46, which would be to the right?
Yeah, so if looking at this elevation to the left of us, there is an L that's up against RL, right?
Right.
And to the right of us, there's an L, but it's the opposite. It's on the other side.
Okay,
And
so this would, yep. So
yeah.
this one would create that little cul-de-sac thing again.
It creates the little cul-de-sac, but what's different about this is the L on the right side is a full height. It goes all the way up. It goes up to the top of the building, which is unusual.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little.
Sorry. I'm sorry, you said on the right side. Your right or my right? I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. On the right of the image of the elevation, and I did hear the desire to have that kind of composite elevation of the rear with the previous applicant, and note that we've already started working on it. We should have had it here tonight. So my apologies.
Okay. I'm a little confused, but why don't you go ahead and we'll catch up.
Okay, let me take one more shot at it. Eric, if you go back and if you can see my cursor. So on this left side here, if you can see my cursor, you see my arrow?
Yeah.
Like this left side, the dog leg or projection is touching this, right? And that
Cursor is
goes
gone.
to this level. On the right-hand side, the setback happens here, and the cul-de-sac comment that you made happens, but the projection side that's mirrored over here goes all the way up the building, which is unusual for the block. So it's a little atypical.
Yeah, we do have the pictures of it.
Okay.
That
Yeah.
were
Oh,
brought
can we
up.
see it, please?
Lester,
Yeah. Eric
you wanna bring
has
it up?
them. Yep.
Okay.
You can kind of see it in that photo in the upper right-hand corner.
No, that's it.
Right.
That's the one. That dog leg, that is the other building.
And,
Our
and
building
frankly,
is that terrace. Yeah, and that's the
but
other building.
That dog leg, our dog leg is set back 27 feet. That dog leg set back, that goes another like 10 plus feet. So that's like beyond anything like any of the other dog legs. What you see that back here, that's the property line. So you already have an alteration that's like really makes the building next to us on the right or to the east quite different.
Could
Yeah,
you put your
that's
cursor-
46. Yeah.
Could you put your cursor where your full depth line would be in this
Right here.
picture?
It basically the right edge of that table.
Okay, so it's a very modest cul-de-sac relative to their monolithic L extension.
Exactly.
Okay, I've got it. Thank you.
Yeah, you got it. So, okay, go to the next slide, Eric.
Yeah, let me get back in presentation mode.
Sure.
Nice question. How,
Sure.
right now, according to once again online, it says that the total square footage is 7,560 square feet. What does it go to with the addition of the penthouse?
The addition of the penthouse is that's 400 square feet up there, and we're 1,000 below the maximum allowable FAR.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, you got it. So here we've got the sections of the building on the left, the existing section, and on the right, the proposed with the rooftop addition. You see that we're back 18.6 from the front of our building, but the actual lot line extends another like 6 feet or so at that 24.6 line that you see to the left. But what's clear is the sight line, even a 6-foot sight line, which would be a 6'6" tall individual, there's no trace of that penthouse from the street level, which is important. So keep going, Eric.
You have a mock-up?
So the mock-up, we're just going to get to that. The mock-up, our application went in quite a while ago, and we literally got the approvals today. And so it will be up in the next few days. And so what we'd like to do, with your permission, is just send you photos of it as soon as it's completed. We fold it back into this presentation and send it to you.
That would be great. Thank you.
Yeah,
Do
no
you have-
problem.
Do you have a hearing date at LPC?
We're hoping, it's still not confirmed. We're hoping for the 15th. And again, if the 15th doesn't happen, it would be the 22nd. So we have a little bit of time.
Of this month or of
No,
November?
I'm sorry, next month, November. Yeah.
Can I make a suggestion? It's pretty
Sure.
radical. Since you're not calendared yet, it's going to be hard for me to vote on this without seeing the mock-up, unless you can really assure us that it's not.
I am super sure. It's so far back. We've modeled it in computer. There's no chance really of visibility here. So
Not just from in front, but from anywhere up or down the street obliquely or any
correct,
other
correct.
avenue
Yeah,
or
up
any.
or down the street. It's set back far enough, and some of the adjacent properties have little pop-ups and appurtenances and whatnot, and so there's not a risk of it being seen. It's set back far enough. Even the previous applicant, their setback, like we're another like 5+ feet beyond that, pushed back.
Yeah, it's
you-
important to note that
taller
the
than
building
them.
to the left is taller than ours. And
Yeah.
then the other thing that happens is, as you go down the block, if you go back, Eric, to that sheet that shows the whole block, you'll see that the street goes down. Yeah.
Yeah, so
So
if I could
you're getting
suggest,
lower, that one.
if I
Yeah.
could suggest, you're going to have the mock-up before our full board meeting.
Yeah.
So one thing we could do is to, in effect, reflect and take you at your word. But there might be some of us who, when the mock-up goes up and we perceive it to be different than as represented, we could then change our vote at full board if that's what we're led to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Contingent approval or however you want to do it. But yes, we're confident in this, and we apologize that it wasn't done in time. Sometimes when you're going between LPC and DOB, it doesn't go that fast.
Can I ask, what is the depth of the remaining outdoor open space at the rear?
Oh, 30 feet. 30 feet. Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
because it says 27.
Well, that's the existing portion, right? And so the existing dog leg that's out there, we chop down all the upper stories and leave that bottom story there because that's existing non-compliance, that's permissible, and that goes flush with the other building. And then it's set back the rest of the way up.
I see. So how much of the rear yard do you have left? About 23 feet?
It's full 27 feet.
Oh, because that's below grade. Sorry, I
Yeah,
missed.
no, yeah, exactly.
Thank
Yep, no
you.
problem.
27. Thank you.
Yep. So, all right. So Eric, I think slide 19 is where we were. So this is just trying to just diagrammatically, graphically show what we're doing. On the left is the existing, and you see there's kind of like a projection. It's not shown quite right. We realized after we had sent this to you, and I don't think I can annotate, but yeah, this piece up here projects out a little bit further. And what we're talking about doing is really just chopping all of this off and then building up to that 30-foot setback area. So we think there's a positive in that the area that's projecting out in the non-compliant way to 27 feet, we're chopping that back 3 feet. So it opens things up, but then we're also adding in the remaining area, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Was this a hard sell to the client?
I'm sorry?
It's not money my business, but was it a hard sell?
A hard sell to the client with doing that work on the back?
No, to chop it back.
No, because when we started studying layouts, the public areas, especially dining rooms and kitchens, when you start to weave kind of in and out, the layouts get a little funky, and so does the fenestration. And so when we showed just how well the building functioned when you did that move, they were on board.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there an elevator in this building?
Yes, there's an elevator in this building.
I don't see the bulkhead on the top.
We'll show you in a moment here.
Okay, thank you.
This slide is just to display zoning compliance. As we know, in a landmark project, there's no such thing as of right. However, if we are talking about as of right, we are a story below the max building height, and we are 1,000 square feet below the maximum buildable. So that's all we want to show here. Keep going. So visibility studies, this is what we, again, are apologizing that these weren't completed. You see two identical images. The one on the right will be replaced once the mock-up is in place. And we're hoping, today is Thursday, we're hoping by Tuesday of next week, we'll be able to take pictures and get that to you. So let's say the end of next week, hopefully worst case scenario. And again, we're confident that none of these vantage points up and down the street will show any visibility of the rooftop addition.
And just to note, we had included in the photographs here part of the 3D renderings, so they were inclusive of the exercise, which is why they weren't visible from the beginning.
Right. Yep. So proposed plans, this shows the elevator. And you see the elevator stops at the lounge level. And there you go. Yeah, Eric, you're showing the elevator, right? Yep.
Yeah.
So that's in line with the stair. And what happens is that then becomes part of the mechanical screen area, and which is set back on both sides. So there is kind of a pop-up on top of the penthouse that takes the split system where we've got condenser units and then the air handlers inside. So you've got these small condenser units. So it's kind of small mechanical, and then the small kind of elevator overrun. So this is a very small elevator because it's a private residence. You're not subject to the same large kind of overruns and stretcher size elevators. This is about as small as it gets. So the overruns and pits are much smaller, and it's able to kind of not become a major thing.
So the elevator would go to the penthouse level, but not to the roof level. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah, exactly right.
And is there a roof deck or something on top of the penthouse?
There's no roof deck on top of the penthouse. That's purely for mechanical. And then we've got kind of outdoor spaces on the front and back of the penthouse. That's the accessible outdoor space.
Yeah.
So how do you get to the rooftop? Is there a ladder or something?
Yes, there's two ladders, front and back, per FDNY. So,
okay.
Yeah.
That's good. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah,
No
you had a
problem.
question? No? Okay,
I have a question.
Madge?
Yeah,
How tall is the penthouse without the elevator part? And then how tall is it with the elevator?
the penthouse is 11 foot 4 inches. And I think because it's only a 7-foot cab, it's a small elevator, that we're aiming to try to get the overrun within the thickness and actually not project too much up beyond the penthouse roof. There might be a step or something like that, but we need to make it work with the FDNY. So when you go with the stretcher elevators, you're talking about overruns on traction elevators of like 16 feet or something like that. But on these, it's smaller.
I think it's 11.6.
11.6, got it. Okay.
Jay?
Yeah, is there a rendering of the rooftop addition?
We just have the rendered elevations to date, but that's a very good idea. I think that's something we could do. If you would like that, since we're already going to come back to you with the mock-ups, we can include that as well.
So we really don't know what it's going to look like.
Oh, no. I think the rendered elevations convey it pretty well. And if we go to the next slide really quickly, I'm going to show you the materials. So this is kind of the palette.
That was my next question, was the materials.
Perfect. So maybe it could be kind of understood with this slide, and then we'll go back to the rendered elevations. But upper left-hand corner, obviously that's brownstone. That's the north elevation or south side of 85th. The rear elevation that we're proposing right below that is a red brick elevation, derivative of kind of the original kind of color and quality of the brick that's under all the kind of gooey elastomeric on the rear elevation. Above, you see stained wood. That is what we believe was the original finish to the wood doors, entry into the unit, and at the stoop door. The lintels and sills throughout appear to be like a cast stone, which we would maintain. For the rooftop addition, what we're proposing is a standing seam zinc. Or if our client says, I'm not spending that kind of money, or we have some sort of problem, we would do painted to match zinc, so like a medium gray, and standing seam. The glass for the new windows on both elevations would be a low-E clear glass, so you don't have the green glass. The glass effectively kind of dissolves. And then for the mechanical screen that sits above the penthouse, we would have a vented a kind of grilled fence, as shown in the upper right-hand corner, which sits above the zinc or standing seam metal. And then the bottom right-hand corner represents that a Benjamin Moore Black Panther color that I mentioned before, which would be the fenestration, the ironwork, kind of all of that detailing. So that becomes the accent of the palette.
But these are not, we don't know the material for the addition, the rooftop.
Well, here, we can go to that real quick. So Eric, if you can go back to the rendered elevations here. So I guess it's grayed out. It's a little hard to tell, but that the gray that you see there is the zinc box with like large glass sliding doors. And right above that, you see the kind of the perforated or louvered metal enclosure.
Okay, thanks.
Madge, you had a question?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Mark?
Thanks. While we're on that screen. So I think you told us the height of the addition on top is 11.4. What does the ceiling height correspond to within that?
So it's 11.6. Eric corrected me. It's 11.6, and I think we've got a 10-foot clear ceiling.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have another question?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm done.
Jordan, you were going to say something?
Was that me? Yes, there's just a couple more slides. Don't want to put you to sleep, but we wanted to show just really quickly precedent.
You never sleep.
So the precedents, we just want to show, especially one right across the donut from us. So we picked 3 in particular. We actually researched about 12 of them. All of these were done after 1990, after the designation. So all of them have gone before either your committee but definitely LPC. So, so the three that will show, they encapsulate the same kind of priorities, where it's like an expansion on the rear elevation and a vertical enlargement, and kind of larger open glass on the public areas of the building. And so, yeah, that was one. This is 51 West 83rd Street. And then the next one I think is the most kind of like on par with ours. And that's right, again, straight out the back, 45 West 84th Street. And you see that the bottom couple stories really open, addition of a small penthouse with outdoor space front and back, very similar to our concept. We were happy to discover this. And so this was found to be appropriate by Landmarks. And with that, thank you for your time. And if there are any questions.
Don't worry about that. There will be.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, Clary, you have a question?
Question. I have comments, if you'll
All right.
entertain them. So with the front, I mean, it's fabulous that you have this wonderfully preserved front facade. And it looks as if the building, although not in this photo, the buildings on both sides had such horrible things happen to their cornices that
yes,
you're looking so great sitting there just like that. So on the other hand, what you're proposing to do is these completely non-historic single pane casement windows. Got some now, you want to put better ones in. And my own view, and I can't prove this, I guess, is I think when people think that a median line in a double hung window is going to ruin their view and destroy their life and change the Upper West Side as we know it, that is an illusion that is imagined and isn't really true. And double hung windows, this building, presumably it had double hung windows, that notwithstanding what the bad things that happened, very bad things that happened to the cornices on both sides. Got double hung windows on both sides. The tax photo has double hung windows. I just can't get with these single pane casement windows. So that's my first thing. The second thing on the back is, you know, we got into that whole kerfluffle or kerfuffle, whatever the word is, about the top floor setback on the prior application, and you referred to it when you started your presentation. I was just unclear, Jordan, what you were sort of alluding to when you said you were starting to think about something. What was it you were starting to think about the, and maybe I'm misquoting you, I thought you were maybe reflecting upon the fact that your rear yard addition goes up in a new.
No.
So
I'm
what was
sorry,
that?
no. It wasn't about our proposal. It was about the presentation that that it had been requested previously to show a montage showing the buildings to the right and left of our building to better understand it. And I agree with that. And I'm going to fix that as soon as possible so that it's easier to understand.
Right.
Okay, Sue.
As everyone knows, I'm an avid bird watcher. Can we talk about the low E glass? I didn't know what it was, so I Googled it quickly. It sounds like it's not a happy thing for birds.
There's actually, as a bird watcher, there's actually requirements that start in the very near future to use bird safe glass. So even you can be low E, you can be transparent, but inside the glass is a film that's visible to birds. And so you can have these expanses of glass and utilize that technology and still be safe.
So you're doing that.
Are you planning to do that? That's my question.
We didn't necessarily discuss that with the client yet, but given the timing and the requirement, it's, you know, if that's something that everyone feels strongly about, it's probably, you know, it's the right thing to do. I have no problem, you know, discussing that and trying to make that happen.
Okay, well, if you do that, then I'm okay with all this. But if you don't, hasta la vista, baby.
Okay, no, fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jay?
Actually, I agree with Clary about the 1/1 windows. Not only do I think that they don't diminish light, but I had a situation in my own apartment where I had to replace 2 windows, and we have a master plan and a requirement that they be 6/6. And I was lamenting what they were going to do, but had no choice when, in fact, having completed that installation, I find that they're perfectly fine. And that's 6/6, never mind 1/1. So I would suggest that since we're likely to approve the work on the front facade, that we
Reconsider.
Consider a condition that those single pane casement windows be 1/1.
Jay, I think your procedural position seems to be the opposite of what it was the last time, I think. But anyway, I mean, I'm not going to vote yes to approve these single pane windows. I'll tell you
No,
that.
what do you mean by my procedural?
I never mind. Let's see where it goes.
No, I agree with you on the design of the windows. It's simple.
Good. Glad to hear it.
Madge, you have a comment?
Yes, I agree about the windows, and I'm wondering what Mr. Rogoff has to say about the possibility of using double hungs.
We could certainly talk to our client about it. I understand the perspective, and we've done a lot of townhomes, and we've very frequently done the double hung. In this case, it was the client's preference not to do that. So it will be a conversation. I can make no guarantees, but I certainly understand the perspective and the meaning in doing that.
Okay, anybody else have any? Mark, your hand is up again?
Yeah, so I agree with my colleagues about the 1/1s. I might offer other alternatives, but the meeting rail needs to be a part of the front fabric of that building. I think the rear facade is quite handsome. I find the proportions to be pleasing, even though there is, once again, a fair bit of glass back there. In this instance, the full width addition doesn't bother me as much as it does on some. I do still have the same issue with respect to the top floor being coplanar with the buildings to its left and right. But that's the only objection I have. And while I'd like to see the rooftop addition not be quite so big, I think on balance, you've done what you can to minimize the impact there. And it did look as though from one of your axiometrics that it kind of fits within what's next to it on either side. So it doesn't, again, we don't see in this illustration in front of us now what the height of what's next to it on either side. So I think the visual impact would actually be less than what you're showing here. So my only concern is that top floor and it not being coplanar with its neighbors.
So do you want to propose a resolution on this?
I think somebody else should.
All right.
If I can, I don't know if it's okay for me to say something,
Sure.
but I think that consideration makes a ton of sense in most conditions where buildings maintain that kind of continuity between them. But the neighbor in which we'd be concerned about maintaining continuity with is so atypical and has such a kind of monster extension that I don't know if it's as important as it is in other situations where it's a little bit more of, a little bit more continuity. But that's just my opinion. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but
yeah, I thank you for that. But you do have a neighbor on the other side, and as I understand it, notwithstanding the monolithic L extension that's full height, that's across the cul-de-sac from it, so that you still have a plane before you get to that monolith. And that's the source of my concern.
Got it.
So it sounds to me like it's a motion to approve conditioned upon using anything but mostly 1/1 windows and the low grade.
Just on the front, right? Just on the front.
Yes.
Yes, on the front. And
I just think it's simple, Michelle, just,
yeah.
I mean, I don't mean to.
No, I'm asking for input.
Preempt, I would propose to approve as presented on condition that the windows on the front facade be replaced with 1/1.
Okay, and with the bird proofing glass on the back?
All around.
Yeah.
All around?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, well, Clary, you okay
Yeah,
with that?
I mean, no, I mean, I'd like to be, but the problem with that is that then it is a motion to approve. And, you know, maybe LPC is better than it used to be about this, and I'll take people's word for it that it is better than it used to be. But basically, we can't assume that they will care about conditioned upon, or if we say disapproved unless, then we're saying what we need. If we say approved conditioned upon, approved is the operative language, and lots of folks down there may not go any farther than that. Certainly that's what it used to be like.
Clary, that doesn't take into account.
I was just going to say that I think, and you know, anyone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think in the last few years that they do pay a little bit more attention to the details of our reports than they did many years ago.
Yeah, I suspect that is correct based on what people have said.
Plus, we generally have adopted a procedure, whereas almost always one of us is there.
Yeah, that's
and so that we can always emphasize any condition or recommendation, et cetera. So you know, and I think, Clary, a lot depends on the overall scope. You know, if there were so many things that we thought could improve it and make it appropriate, then I would suggest your approach of disapproving unless. But in this case, I think the overall feeling is that the great bulk of this proposal is acceptable and appropriate, and this is simply one detail.
Well, it's a very big detail. I mean, it's just a
Well,
glaring.
it is. I don't dispute because it's on the front and it's visible. But you know, I don't know ultimately to make a difference. But in response to your concern, I think they've been pretty good in recognizing what our concerns are.
Well,
And
for
again,
those of you, you can just educate me. For those of you who've been attending far more regularly than I've watched the Zoom versions from LPC, I mean, I get the impression that many of the commissioners have pretty much decided where they're going before the hearing even starts.
Well, they do. The truth is they do review every single application. Yeah. And you're right. They do a sketch. They sketch out their resolution.
Often they've written it before it even starts.
That's
right.
So,
sorry, let me jump in on that.
Mark, let me just say something for what it's worth. I think it was the July meeting when I was there. I congratulated the chair for being reappointed for another 7-year term. And she wrote me an email and she said, thank you. And she said, she appreciates the work that our community board does. So
yeah. I
don't think she says that every day, and I think you all are doing a great job, and she does too. So I think they're listening to us. That's what I'm trying to say.
If I could add something, I've never done this before, but it wasn't because I was bored. I Googled the architectural firm, and I'm just going to read you a couple quick sentences from their website. which lets you know that I'm confident that the right thing will happen here. And I do like the design in general. But they have standard commercial stuff, and please forgive me, Mr. Rogoff. They've also got a broad spectrum of projects, including the development of an orphanage in Zambia, a health-focused community in St. Louis, Haiti, and collaborating with the Clinton Health Access Initiative to develop architectural solutions toward the eradication of malaria in Namibia. And Jordan is also a founder and COO of LIV Connected, a company he established to provide thoughtful, well-designed emergency housing following natural disasters and affordable modular homes. So I'm willing to trust he's going to use bird-safe glass, and that the mock-up on the top will be okay. And I think probably we'll take our suggestions under advisement.
Absolutely. And we do, I can't make promises, but we do have our client's ear. She has gone with 99% of our suggestions. So I feel pretty good about the possibility of convincing her to move it forward this way.
Okay, thank you. Shall we take a vote on this? Unless, Mark, I interrupted you. You want to have the final say on this before we take a vote?
No, we're ready to vote. Thank you, though.
Okay, so the resolution is to approve as presented with a condition that the applicant use 1/1 windows on the front facade and bird-proofing glass all around. All right, so I'm going to take a vote. Mark, what's your vote?
It's abstain. Thank you.
Abstain. Clary?
Sadly, I'm pushed into a no for reasons I've said.
Madge?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
Paige? She's still here? Paige?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're muted, Paige.
I wish I could say yes, because there's a lot to admire about this, but I'm siding with others that have some problems with the project. So I'm going to say no.
All right, Jay?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Is Doug still here?
I am.
All
I am.
right.
I'm a yes, and I just wanted to say that I think the applicant's presentation was really incredibly professional, collegial, responsive, and for people less smart like me, we have so many great people on our committee. I was very impressed, and I understand things. I compliment his clarity. Thank you.
Thank you. So
Thank
the
you.
motion, the resolution passes, the motion passes on the resolution by a vote of 4-2 to 1-0, 1-0 to 0 to 0. Okay, and we know what they are.
One question.
Pardon? Yes.
Will the architect let us know what's happening with the windows?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Actually, we'll add that to the list of items that we send your way next week.
Jordan, no, this isn't going to solve the client's issue. I guess I was going to ask whether there are good quality casement windows that still have a bar across, but where the client is coming not from the point of view of how they open, but rather what they see, that wouldn't address the client's issue.
There are, but the issue isn't functionality of the window, it's the sight lines. And so, and I'm a purist, like that to me feels kind of phony baloney. So I'd go double hung, like counterweight double hung.
Yeah.
So we'll have a conversation with her tomorrow.
And Marvin makes really good heavy duty double hung.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you again.
Michelle,
Thank you the first time. And we will, sorry.
Please say the vote again.
The vote is 4-2 to 1-0, 1-0 to 0 to 0.
Michelle, can I just make a suggestion that
Sure.
if in fact the client before our full board meeting does in fact agree to the 1/1s bird-proof glass, to let us know, because in that case we may want to amend the proposed resolution to full board.
Right. That's a very good suggestion.
Yeah.
Do we want to have a pre-meeting so we can take care of that?
We could do it. We could just propose an amendment at the meeting, Susan.
Right. I prefer to do that.
Okay.
All right. Okay, thank you again.
All right.
Please
Thanks
tell
so
us-
much, everybody. Have
All
a
right.
good night.
Thank
Appreciate it.
you. We'll hear from you
Bye-bye.
soon before our full board meeting on
You got it.
November 1st.
Next week's our goal.
Okay, great. Thank
Thanks so
you.
much. All right. Good night.
Thank you. And our last application is also on 85th Street, West End and 85th, 514 West End Avenue, apartment 16A, application for a certificate of appropriateness for new AC unit grills. Is the applicant here?
I see now. Sorry.
It looks like it.
Yeah. Go ahead, Andrea. There.
You're muted.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, could you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
My name is Andrea Guattacaldini. I'm with Claybor Design and Architecture, and we're here this evening to discuss our proposal at 514 West End Avenue, where we are proposing within the interior renovation the AC unit grills on two facades. The building is at this southwest corner of West End Avenue and 85th Street. It's a Renaissance Revival style, and it's been built in 1923 to 1924. And these are the historic photos. The photos are from the 1940s, 1980s, and the current facade. And so,
Can you put up the,
oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, we can't see.
Oh, I completely apologize.
no problem.
So this is the location for the building between West End Avenue and 85th Street. And these are the tax photos from 1940s, 1980s, and the current 2022. The highlighted square you see on these photos are the windows that relate to the apartment we're doing the renovation of. And specifically, these are the elevation in question. So it's a north elevation on West End Avenue, and then the east is on 85th Street, and the other one on the back.
Well, the north can't be on West End Avenue. It would have to be, the north would
Oh,
be
on the 85th Street. Sorry, I
on
apologize.
85th Street.
Apologize. This is a blown up of the 15th floor, and here is to preserve the stone framing around the doors, around the windows. We're proposing this small grill. We selected a very new system of unitless HVAC, where the grill is fairly small compared to traditional grills for HC. So this is a 12 inches by 24. And so we're here because we're proposing it not centered on below the windows because of the stone detail. So we're showing it on the side, and this is the sort of more important facade. And in this case, this is the back facade where we are proposing as well grill in between the dining and the living room windows.
So there'll be no grills on West End?
No.
Oh,
It's on
that's
the
good.
street side in the rear.
Exactly. This is the grill we're proposing. The system we're using really has two between 6 and 8 inches round, and the grill could be a round shape or an overall grill that covers the two fresh air intake. But but we're proposing the rectangular one to be a little more consistent on the one there are on the building currently on the other floors. Just to show you the location, this is the current plan. We're preserving pretty much the layout because the apartment is very well preserved. And we have the radiator on right below the windows and the stone detail. So that's why we are proposing it, the grill on the side. And this is the 85th Street facade. And this is the rear that is going to be between the dining and the living room. As a last, I would like to point out, if I can increase this image, this elevations, we have offset, not center with the window grills on the 5th, 7th, 8th, 11th, and 13th floor from previously sort of done work for that grill.
Were those prior to designation, all those others?
Not all of them, but the one on the 7th and 8th floor. The 11th, 8th, 11th, and 13th were done prior. And this is our proposal.
Any questions?
Yeah.
Mark?
May I? Thank you. Could you show us the slide that has the primary facade, the West 85th Street primary facade again, the one that has the little circle that pulls out the highlight?
Yes.
That's the one. Thank you. There you go. So it looks like in between I completely endorse and respect your respecting the stone enclosure of those windows on that floor, and completely agree that you shouldn't be messing with that. But I do see what I assume is a bathroom window in between the two windows in that pullout. The small, or maybe it's a kitchen window, I don't know.
It's a bathroom.
It's a bathroom, okay. And I'm wondering whether placing the problem I'm trying to it's a thoughtful approach. I just having it sort of sit on the side, and I appreciate that lower down, that's what happened already. But wouldn't it fit in less, call less attention to itself if it was in the line of those little windows? Or is that just not feasible because of the mechanics of it?
Exactly. The actual unit doesn't have really a duct, is just a very short run that is basically between the interior and the exterior. So there's the only duct that exists is a circular 6 inches tube that goes from the unit to the outside and is not designed to have a longer duct. And the main approach is to be able to cool down the bedroom. And so having the grill here will not allow us to have the actual unit in the room we want to condition. So that's our constraint in terms of the mechanical.
All right, thanks for that, because I don't remember seeing these brought before us. Perhaps they were approved at staff level in the past, and I think that's unfortunate because the existing ones that are on the facade that you've shown us, I think, are equally unfortunate. And now we're setting a precedent of, in effect, adopting the unfortunate orientation. I don't have a better solution for you. Is it possible that mini cornice, that to put it right as close as possible to that mini cornice, so that when you're looking from the street, you would barely see it? Because you've done a great job of picking something that is as modest in size as one could hope for. But I would like to obscure it from view other than for the people who are on the 15th floor of the building across the street. You know what I mean?
Yes. And it is actually as lowest as possible for that reason. Of course, we were not able to tape or make a mock-up of how visible this was. But we placed it as low as the specification of the unit, the mechanical unit, allowed us to do.
Yeah.
Of course, there will be less grill if we use just the two separate grills as a round, and that is an option to reduce the amount of grill. We just choose the rectangular one only because on the facade is all rectangulars, but we could conceivably consider just two single 7-inch round grills if you prefer.
Yeah, okay, I'm done asking questions. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Susan?
I think Madge had her hand up first.
Oh, okay, Madge.
Is there a master plan for this building at all? Because
So, I'm sorry?
is there a master plan for the building as far as air conditioners and windows go?
No, it's only the only it's radiators, the only mechanical system they have. So there's no.
Because that building now has air conditioners every which way all over it. So how anyone is even going to notice this, I don't know.
I agree.
It's nicer than what's there.
And especially the one lower down the floor, there are considerably big, very big grills.
Can I just
Sorry,
ask?
Susan.
So
Sorry.
I'm good, thanks.
Okay, Jay, and then that was you, Paige?
Yeah,
Okay, Jay and then Paige?
Just in the category of none of you may care, 514 West End Avenue was the first building I lived in when I moved to the Upper West Side. It was long before it was a co-op. It was a rent control building. I was a young lawyer and I had a 2-bedroom apartment for $198 a month. I had to move out of the village because I couldn't afford to stay in the village. And the West Side was still the wild, wild West.
Right.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Sorry for your
Paige?
loss.
This is an unusual location. We normally see air conditioners being inserted lower down. Is there a terrace up above? Is there any way that you could mount the equipment on the rooftop above and feed the air handler, vents, whatever, down rather than through the wall?
So there is a terrace, and it's a portion is private of the property of the apartment. There's a penthouse on top. The building will not allow it to penetrate the waterproofing from, the common roof.
Fair enough. Okay, I just needed to ask because
Yeah, we
we're always
evaluate.
trying to find other solutions. Thank
Yes,
you.
We evaluate that too.
Anybody else? Questions? Doug?
Yeah, I just wanted to say a quick question and then a comment. The question is, I understand that you're using the grill for some kind of symmetry, but that you could do 2 7-inch cylindrical penetrations. Do I understand that one is intake and one's exhaust? Are they both exhaust?
One is intake, one exhaust. Yes, correct.
Okay, and they're separated enough so they don't interfere with each other.
Exactly.
Respectfully, the only thing that you said that I did not appreciate was that the reason that you're doing this is because there's a radiator in front of the window. Moving a radiator is not a complicated feat at all.
Absolutely.
But so I just went, but it does look de minimis to me. And I assume are there window units in this building where people have?
Yes, currently the current owner has window units, but they of course reduce a lot the light that comes in.
Yeah, I didn't mean this owner. I just
Yeah,
meant
few other floors has them.
Yeah,
as you can see here.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had to say. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I think that's why Madge asked if there was a master plan to see if sometime in the future there could be more units like that rather than have the big air conditioned units in the windows.
They're in the windows and in the walls too in that building.
Yeah.
This is definitely the system that is we found that is the most discreet and also has the smallest grill. That's why we sort of choose it to preserve the integrity of that facade as much as we can.
All right, shall anybody want to propose a?
Michelle?
Yes.
Excuse me. There are a bunch of folks in attendees. I'm not sure if they want to speak or not, but I
Oh, I
remember
understand.
several of them spoke when we considered 535 West End Avenue, so perhaps they're here to talk.
Okay. You want to, who's going to bring them into the meeting?
Sure, I
Yeah,
can do
that-
that. None of them have their hands raised, but perhaps now is a good time to say if anyone from the public would like to speak, feel free to raise your hand and we can usher you right in.
Thank you, Max.
I see we have a taker.
We have a winner.
We do.
Yay.
Okay, Dana.
Going once.
There we are. Hi, I hope oh wait, I started the video and then it didn't. There we go. There I am. Hello.
Down
I
the,
live in this
can you
building.
take down the screen share?
Yes, please take down the screen share.
Oh.
Mr. Caldini, gracias.
Sure. 1 second, I can't find it.
Should I just go ahead?
Here we go.
Please do, thank you.
So I apologize.
Hi, I'm Dana Ivy. I live at 514 West End Avenue, and I have a window air conditioner. Would that I could get one in the wall, but I'm still a rent stabilized tenant. So that's never going to happen for those of us who are rent stabilized tenants, just to let all you folks know. And I applaud the people up there. I think this is a minimal thing. I doubt that it will ever be seen from the street, because if you noticed, there's a bit of a little architectural sort of tiny little balustrade ornamental thing just below that level. And I believe that people looking up from the street would never see it. So that's just what I have to say. I don't think any of us in this building have any feelings about this whatsoever. Good for them.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate. Is there anybody else, Max?
I'll make the announcement again. If anyone from the public does want to speak, feel free to raise your hand. Although at this time, nope, I don't see anyone else.
All right.
Call the question.
Yeah, I'm called the question to approve the application as presented. And I will take a sec. Is there somebody going to second that?
I'll second.
Thank you. And let's take a vote on that. I'm a yes. Jay?
Yes.
Paige?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Clary?
Yes.
Madge?
Yes.
And last but not least, on the committee, Susan.
Yes.
So the resolution passes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 0, 0, 0. Committee members, a non-committee board member, Doug?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. 1, 0, 0, 0. All right, thank you very much, Mr. Caldini.
Appreciate it.
I'd
Thank
like
you.
to thank Ms. Ivy for staying so long to
Yes.
take part in our meeting. It's always wonderful when the community comes to our meetings. Thank you so
Now,
much.
I have to say, I admire all of you for giving so much time to the community. I applaud you. Thank you very much for what you do for all of us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And before,
Thank you.
I know you want to go, but maybe you all know this before we go. I learned that, you know, those guys in the 1940s tax photos with the hats, you know?
Yeah.
I always wondered who they were. Well, they shall remain nameless because nobody knows, but that was a WPA project.
Absolutely.
That's right.
So if you, I'm happy to spread that knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you.
Night. And
Good night,
Can I
everybody.
ask you when you're going to go in front of LPC?
It's not confirmed yet. We're hoping for the 15th. We'll
November
reach out to our preservationists, November 15th, yes.
Thank you, everybody. It was
Appreciate
a
it.
pleasure once again. And I
Send
will,
me the minutes, Madge.
yeah, I'll see you very soon. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
That's just
Good
good to
night.
me too, because I'm doing the second one.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Do you
Bye.
have a schedule, a minute schedule?